ref. That's he got the ball. Good evening, Tottenham fans, and welcome back to the Irish Hotspur with your boys Dave and Jack, bringing you your fan show this evening. Here to deal with the fallout from the Newcastle game yesterday. A hell of a lot more people seem to be turning on Ange, or losing faith in Ange is probably the best way to describe it. Although I do see some people doubling down and saying, look, there's a lot to work off. If we just learn to finish, we'll be absolutely fine. So it didn't take too long. I was hoping it'd take us at least 15 games this season to be at this point. However, we've bet our own record. We're at this point after 3 games. And to be honest with you, if you don't laugh, you will cry. So we're here tonight to find out what the fans think off the back of yesterday's game. Oh, Jack, how are you this evening, sir? Long week.
Yeah, it's been a long week. Looking forward to some type of break if we can have it. It is funny that we are already at that divisive point where it's basically, I don't know if it's 50-50. I don't know the whole ratio really, but it does feel like you're at that point where people are doubling down, like you say, on their faith in Ange, or people are starting to now question Ange. And it's just something that we've become way too familiar with as Spurs fans, where, you get that first season honeymoon with the manager, you're not really, going to question much of what they're doing. And then quickly into the second season, you start to see some ripples, you start to see some cracks, and maybe the tactics or in the team or in the squad, the transfer window, and then everybody kind of starts to question everything again. And we go back to where we began. It's just funny that we've gotten way too used to this cycle at this point, especially, since I've been here with you, Dave. It just seems to be the repeating circle. And I hope that this time around, it doesn't actually end up, repeating itself, and we do, get through it. But with results like this, it's hard for people not to start questioning things.
No, 100%. And, I think where people need to understand, I don't think the concern just comes off the way we started this season. It comes off the transfer market, but also how, most of last season. You also look at our away form. It's absolutely shocking, of recent times as well. Stuff that really needs to improve. I'd argue it's been piss poor for quite some time. It was poor under Conte, poor under Jose. Seems to be inherent at this football club. Maybe it all comes back to what Conte said. Nobody at the club likes to play under pressure. I was listening to his speech today, and I was listening to it back, and I didn't think it was as bad as he thought it was. He was basically saying, coaches take money, scouts take money, I take money, players take money, but no one seems to really want to deliver or have the desire to be able to deliver here. And look, yesterday, you could argue, or at the start of this season, maybe it seems the same. We're hearing all the right words, but the actions on the pitch don't really seem to match up. Bit disappointing, to be brutally honest with you, and it's a shame because the football we've played, we should really be heading into this international break with 9 points, hitting their full points out of the 3 games. So it's really sad in that way, considering the football we play. And it doesn't look like Ange Postecoglou is going to, alleviate them defensive concerns that many people had, because he did say after yesterday's game, if we take our chances, you don't even give them a chance to take anything from this game. So, it seems like he is more focused on going forward and taking our chances, which some fans will argue is correct. I mean, that's where I sit on yesterday's game and the Leicester game. Don't get me wrong, there's other issues away from home. We're piss poor. Leadership, again, piss poor, failing to stand up in the big moments where you really need them to push you on through the game and stuff like that. But against Leicester, the game should have been done and dusted before we even allowed them back in. Same with Newcastle yesterday. How many more chances do we need? And it comes back to the same old problem. We don't have the right quality in the forward lines, which I've been banging on about now for the last 2 seasons. And Postecoglou's system relies on them forward players going and scoring goals, outscoring your opponents. And, when you've got people switching off at the other end, I mean, it's a recipe for disaster. But look, we'll get into it. We'll welcome some fans in, and we're going to get you straight into the guests. And let's hear what they have to say this evening. We have Regan. We dropped 5 points in just 3 games. Let that sink in. 100%. Nobody's happy with that whatsoever. Like I said, should have all 9 points heading into this because we've played well enough to take 9 points as well. That's the thing. Vince Vega says, I've been saying Ange is a busted flush from last season. I hate that he can't change a game and there's only one way to play gung-ho. It's just brainless management, but it is what it is. 6th game week 38. Fair enough. Vince Vega. Ricky Nato says, big up, brothers. Teams just know how to beat us because we're too exposed at the back. Our final third got no vision and wrong decision-making. Ange needs to change plan quickly because he's getting found out. Come on, you Spurs. One thing I see a lot of is people saying he needs to switch to a back 3, but no one's sitting there looking at the defensive options we have. We've Radu Dragusin, we've Romero, and we've Van der Ven. one's out injured, you automatically have to switch to a back four. He doesn't have the defenders to play a back three to improve that situation, nor do I think he will ever switch to a back three, to be honest with you, either. We also have Scotty Hynam, big up to all. Come on, you Spurs. Good to see you, Scotty. Hopefully you're keeping well. Vince Vegas says, wish Arnie Slot didn't shun us. Didn't realise how good he was. What I will say is, don't forget, he's got a lot of the squad there to work with that are Champions League winners, League Cup winners, FA Cup winners, Club World Championship winners, and also the Premier League winners. You know, he's got a complete different squad to work with. So we have to take that into account to be just to bring a bit of balance to it. Adrian Rose says, big up Dave and Jack. Have a great show, lads. Come on, you Spurs. Great to see you. Or Anthony, sorry. Great to see you, sir. Hopefully you're keeping well. DB says, evening all, I'm Ange, but he needs to adapt. Crackers said it perfectly on Last Word on Spurs. Big yourself up, DB. I'll go and listen to what Crackers had to say now later on this evening, but good to see you, my man. Eddie the Eagle, show some love to Dave and Jack, guys. They've been hard at work for us coming off the back of the transfer window deadline day. Appreciate that, Eddie. Yeah, it's been a long week, honestly. We can't wait. We're going to have some fantasy updates coming tomorrow. I'm going to do a couple of pre-records to put out over the week, and then we're going to take a day or two off for sure. We've got DJ AK says, big up Dave and Jack. Come on, you Spurs. Great to see you, sir. We've also got Gaza just changed tactics. Being stubborn will get him the sack. Look, most managers that are managing in top six clubs don't really adapt too much. Now, I take it, you know, Guardiola adapts season in, season out. He makes different tweaks. Arteta to a degree as well. And maybe that's what people are asking Ange to do. But if we're asking him to, you know, start sitting back and doing defensive football, it's just not what he's going to do here whatsoever. We've got when the Spurs go marching in, evening gents, tonight should be interesting. Yeah, look, I just want to hear what the fans have to say. That's all. We've got Wembley one evening, boys. I feel Ange may have to make allowances for the fact that he doesn't have the quality of player. Yeah, thanks, Daniel, to make his system work as well as it can and could. Definitely going forward, I'd argue that's the case for sure. Finn Rickwood, where's the flat cap, Jack?
I was looking for it, and then, you know, I found my Ange ball sweater, so I decided to just trigger people with that instead. I couldn't find the flat cap. You just keep misplacing it, you know, and after these defeats as well, I'm probably just throwing it to the floor, you know, in frustration. So I was finding it hard to you know, to find again, but I will look for it in case you really, you know, in case you really need it. But I decided to wear the Ange ball sweater just to trigger people.
You start jumping on it in anger, you know, it's flat now. He has it in a hat mold, you know, just getting the shape back into it. Danny Darko, Spurs, good to see you. Come on, you Spurs. Big up Jack and Dave and all in the chat. In Ange, we trust. Till at least Christmas. Good to see you, Danny Darko. Hopefully you're keeping well, sir. Darren Johnson says, yo. Good evening, Dave and Jack. Plus chat. Come on, you Spurs. Good evening to you, Darren. Hopefully you're having a good Monday. Big up to Brad Matthews as well. Great to see him. Thomas X-Ray 13 says another 2-3 games like this and the players will stop believing in Ange's system. Yeah, 100%. I think that would be the case. I think you're absolutely spot on. I'd argue I think there's massive pressure on that North London derby now. And look, me and Jack done a video there last week, you know, about the Newcastle and the Arsenal game, and people maybe thought I was being extreme. Maybe not so extreme now, now that we're in this time and this crisis. I would say, Moondog, sick of the same crap. Look, I think everybody's sick of it. But look, this is what I come back to when Conte got sacked. You know, people were telling me style of play matters, Tottenham way. I remember sitting there. Style play doesn't matter. It's about winning games. And now that we've got the style of play the Tottenham way, it's clear to see that it's only winning games that really matters. The style doesn't. So whatever direction we go in, whether we stick with Ange or not, I don't want to hear anybody talk about style of play to me anymore. It's all about winning games and getting the right manager to come in here and do that if that's what people want. But you know, under Conte, everyone professed style of play matters. You know, I heard loads of people say, I don't care even if we don't win games. I just want to see us play the Tottenham way. Well, we're doing it now, and it looks like everybody cares. We've got Darius in the house, but big up, Moondog. Good to see you, sir. Darius in the house is big up Dave and Jack and everyone in the chat. I think our finishing will get better, and we will smash the teams away if we stay on course. Come on, you Spurs. I think they definitely need to, go and work on some finishing practice, work on some attacking patterns. And I think the biggest problem we've got right now is we create a lot of chances, but there doesn't really seem to be that fluidity, or we get into a lot of prominence in positions, but there doesn't seem to be that fluidity that you see other teams have in the Premier League where players have been together for quite some time. And I think that's one thing that's definitely missing for us up front for sure. Georgia Hill says, big up, lads. Hope you're keeping well. Frustrating seeing a similar story, but I believe in Ange. Don't think sacking him gets us anywhere. Come on, you Spurs. Fair enough, Georgie Hill. Ange Ball says, good evening, Dave and Jack and the chat. Come on, you Spurs. Great to see you, sir. Make sure Donovan Oosterreicher, good to see you as always. Hopefully you're keeping well, my man. We've also got Benny Guy says Pep equals tactic changes, depends on different types of opponents. Ange, on the other hand, doesn't understand how tough the Premier League is. Front three busy passing and fullbacks busy in shooting. What the F? We've got Charles Ingram says, hey guys, personally I'm more sick and tired of the players making the same mistakes over and over, but that is on the players. It's the players that give up in these moments. I mean, look, that's a fair argument to make for sure. We've got Martin Neville says, should Son be benched? No, I don't think Son should be benched whatsoever. We've got Liston Hines says, look, Son is our only world-class player. I think we need to be very careful the realms we're going into with him. Eventually, if this keeps polluting around his name, he's going to get pissed off and at the lack of disrespect towards him. Liston Hines says, we get less bite than my nan without her dentures. We've also got that Spur. Ange won't change. He's too stubborn. He will fall on his sword. 100%, but I'd argue most top managers would fall on their sword now. Seems to be any manager that comes. One thing I am a bit wary of is saying that every manager is stubborn. I mean, when do we get to the point that you maybe just accept this is the way the modern day manager is, that they just have their philosophy, they have their belief, and they're going to stick to it? People called Jose stubborn, told him he needed to change. People said the exact same about Antonio Conte, and now they're saying the exact same about Ange Postecoglou. So when do we have a proper discussion about what's really stubborn and what's not? Because it can't just be every manager that walks in this door is completely stubborn. Either they are stubborn or we just don't understand what the modern manager is about. And I think that's maybe something we should have a discussion on sometime. We Are Spurs TV says, what's going on, guys? Good to see you. Hopefully you're keeping well. Voss got Hotspur 82. We must be the easiest team for the opposition to prepare for. We've got the multi-channel. All big clubs should have 3 forwards, should have signed Kyogo for 25 million. He's flying for Celtic at the moment. Rakesh Tiwari says, what happened will occur again and again when you buy kids and Werner. We've got Davy Shire. Good to see you, sir. Big up, Dave and Jack. Appreciate your hard work, Cobbers. Good to see you in the house. Hopefully you're keeping well, my man. We've also got Milton Nobrega. How are you, David? Very, very tired. How are you, sir? Steady Shark says, if we had a striker yesterday, then we'd all be having a different conversation today. VDV missing as well, but Ange should have adapted to that reality. What I would say is that the club really helped him by not bringing in a left-footed player for a left-sided centre-back or left-back. That's where I'd be looking for that one, to be honest. I did say come the end of the transfer window, Ange will have to find solutions and he'll be the one that'll get battered for it if it doesn't work out. And I don't think that's fair, to be brutally honest with you. Nigel Pure Coy says, big up, chaps and chat. Much love. Great to see you in the house. Take 1 or 2 more comments and then I will salve my shot. Dave, I understand some fans aren't happy, but the way you were abusing and body shaming Ange on one of the streams is unacceptable. Me, I wasn't abusing or body shaming Ange Postecoglou whatsoever on any stream, so I don't really know what you're talking about. I think you have the complete wrong person. And by the way, who am I body shame anybody? You know, that's the thing.
So if anything, Dave has body shamed himself.
Yeah, I body shame myself. So first of all, I think that's absolutely ridiculous comment. I think you need to go back and reassess who that comment's aimed for, because the only stream I was on yesterday was my own. Jack was with me and other people with me on the pre-match build-up, and they'll all vouch for me. Not once did I body shame Ange Postecoglou. So I think you're completely wrong there, and I would like an apology before I let you put in another comment. Thank you very much. We've got Mary W. No striker, no clue. Good to see you, Mary W. We've got DB Dave. Dave, come on. We have gone from one extreme to another. Some balance is what we need. Well, look, that's fair enough. I'm just saying what the fans were saying to me when Antonio Conte was here, and I don't want anyone to deny it. Everyone said style of football matters. Everybody. They all wanted to get back to the Tottenham way and everything else. I get what you're saying. Look, I'm just saying that's what people were saying at the time. That's all. You got Neil G says, I said our next 2 games will show if we have improved from last season or not, and we have lost one of them, and not confident in next week. I mean, a lot of people probably not as confident heading into North London Derby now. Phil Coy says, big up, lads. Hope you're well. Come on, you Spurs. We've also got Matt Byam says, big up, Dave and Jack. Declan Rice will not be available for North London Derby. Is a godsend. We are going to smash him up in September 15th. Come on, you Spurs. Look, I hope that's the case. Let's wait and see, my man, but let's wait and see. Where are we? We've got Paul G says, evening, chaps. Patience is slowly running out. Sadly, I think many people's patience are running out. But a question, is it running out with Ange Postecoglou or the football club? We've got Christopher Fan. John Randall says, I'm going for 2-2 draw. I think Arsenal are still a top side. robbed by the ref. We've got King Huddle. We have dominated the fourth most difficult away side, and people want Ange gone. Utter madness and lunacy. Sean Johnston says, I'm 100% behind Big Ange. Once we get Solanke into the side, we will be cooking. And we've got Longy says, we have players who can pass the ball in the box, but no one who is willing to take a shot or a chance. Look, that's where I think our biggest problem is in the forward area, to be brutally honest. If we take our chances up the forward area, nobody's talking about going the other way, just like what happened against Leicester. Not Leicester, fucking Everton. Tekken says, don't win 3 points for possession and touches in the box. No, absolutely spot on. Absolutely spot on. But I'd also argue when we do shoot, a lot of it's weak. It's straight at the goalkeeper, not really hitting the sides, not really generating much power behind them either, to be brutally honest with you. And then Darren Caban says we need to be more alert when we lose the ball on the counter-attack. And Madison poor for both goals. And what was Romero at yesterday? Look, Romero, look, I love the guy, but people know me. I like to think I'm very fair. Nowhere near good enough from Romero. He's the leader of that back line. He's here the longest in that back line, and it's up to him to be able to galvanize that back line. You know, allowing them to switch off from a throw-in. Nowhere near good enough. You're talking about a World Cup winner and a Copa America winner, you know, switching off for Newcastle's second goal. And I feel sorry for Udogie because Isak just ran between Udogie and Romero. Udogie also had the winger to contend with. But again, that's where communication comes in. If Udogie sees it, he has to scream at Romero to come and get it. But also, I've seen another picture. Romero wants to play the offside trap, and everyone else is getting ready, willing to run backwards, which again stinks of lack of communication across that back line. If Romero does want to play the offside trap, he needs to tell everybody that he wants to play the offside trap. He needs to communicate to them. It's nowhere near good enough from Lombom. Nowhere near good enough. And he needs to really pick up his performances. That's 2 games he's cost us now. 2 games. Nowhere near good enough from him. But guys, we are just going to crack on now. We're going to start getting on the guest. I'm way behind the chat. I'm never going to catch up. It's pointless exercise at this point. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. And we are going to crack on. So let's go. First guest we have on this evening is the one and only Dermatron from THFC Till I Die. Let's hear what you have to say. By the way, guys, also don't forget we are sponsored by NordVPN this month. Check out in the description. I think there is a pin coming up in the chat as well. If you want to get your VPN to get cheaper streaming services, etc., make sure you click on it. Our code is FLATCAP, all one word. Get yourself a nice discount. Why not? Jack, anything to add to that, or you just crack on?
Yeah, I would say everybody, please, check out the NordVPN sponsorship. We are, sponsor for them for this month. And if, you are interested in getting yourself a VPN, feel free to use our code FLATCAP. It's in the description, like Dave said. But let's get this fan show underway. Looking forward to seeing what you guys have to say. A lot of divisive, sort of comments, and very, very, varied opinions, very varied opinions. It shows that I'm tired of talking at this point. So I'm looking forward to seeing what other people have to say.
Right. Let's hear what they have to say. We're going to start with the one and only Dermatron from THFC Till I Die. Dermo, how are you, sir?
Pissed off, fed up, had enough, tired, and I can't wait for a few days off. to be fair, I know how you guys feel. It's been a hard month, and I know how you guys feel. I am exhausted, and yesterday was just took the biscuit. Just absolutely took the biscuit. We dominated, and a game we should have won, and we didn't. And for lapses of concentration by Romero and not taking our chances, if we had a striker, I think we would have won that. We would have won that easily, but we didn't. And for people that are calling for Anne's head, I am going to say this, and I mean this in the nicest possible, kindest way. I'm not a nasty
whatever
person.
Dermot says are his thoughts alone, not mine and Jack's. Just making that clear.
Get a life. Leave Ange alone. It's only 3 games in, for Christ's sake. If it was 15 or 20 games in, and we were struggling mid-table, and it was like the end of Poch's era, and we were struggling, I get it. But we're only 3 games in. Jesus, give the man a chance. If we had a striker,
do you not think a lot of the pressure is coming from October last year all the way through, and then it's followed over into this season?
I think there's fans that didn't want Ange in the first place, so they're going to always be Ange out. You've got the fans that were in the middle and now are being swayed because of the performances. And you're going to have people that are Ange in, like myself, that believe that you can take us all the way. So everyone's going to have a different opinion on it. I see it from my own point of view that, yes, the end of last season was disappointed. The start of this season, I think if somebody said to me, you would have had 2 wins and a draw, I would have bitten your hand off for that. But because we did play well yesterday, people seem to forget that. We dominated the game for most, but we did what we did against Leicester, but we just didn't take our chances. And that's all it is. I mean, Johnson, when he came on, I did a Dave Harris rant. I had your inner in me, and I did a Dave Harris rant. Philip didn't tell me he came on. And next thing I see Johnson will not ring. I just went, what's he on for? He did absolutely nothing. And then it's just so frustrating. And the frustration boils from the transfer window as well, where we didn't address where we needed to address. And that's frustration. So I think it's just, if I can describe it in one word, I feel so underwhelmed. And I'm so glad it's the international break. Rarely am. Just to take a break from it all, because I think I've been a fan for over 40 years. I've seen it all. I've seen the good, the bad, and the damn well ugly. And for me, I think Ange will get it right in the end. We just got to have faith. We've got to get behind him. And we just got to get behind the team. And the North London derby, if we lose that, I think all hell will break loose. And I don't think Ange... I think if we lose that and we lose that badly, I wouldn't be surprised if Ange is gone before the next game. But I don't want him to, because I believe in Ange and I believe in what he can do. I've seen what he can do. So I think the players have to take responsibility for their own failures as well. It's not just the manager, it's the players as well. So everyone has to take responsibility.
Well, a lot of people are blaming the system, Dermot, when it comes to Ange Postecoglou, saying it's just way too naive, it's way too attacking focused. You know, he has no plan defensively. And look, for me yesterday, I don't think the goals we conceded were system problems. I think personally, you know, there's other games where they could have a pop at the system, but I think personally yesterday was about individuals switching off in moments where they really shouldn't be. But is there a problem with Ange Postecoglou's system? Is he too stubborn? Because that's what a lot of the Spurs fans are saying. And you can see day by day, the more every game goes on, we don't take 3 points, more and more people are starting to question the guy.
Look, I can remember the Aussie years when Aussie was in charge and it was gung-ho. I mean, it was, you didn't know, you went to an Aussie or D-less game in charge, you didn't know which way the game was going to end. So, you know, I don't think it's as bad as that. I think Ange does need to evolve. I think Ange needs to change. I think he does need to learn. The Scottish League is different from the Premier League. But that's for the same for any manager coming from Germany, Italy, any league in the world. They've got to adapt. It's a new country, it's a new club, it's a bigger club. And they've got to evolve. And Ange is evolving. But I just feel some of the players are letting them down. And when you don't supply him, like yesterday, you're spot on when you say it was a player problem. It wasn't a system problem. It was Romero switching off. And if we had Van der Ven playing in that back four, would he have got Isaac? Most probably he would have done. So it's a lot of ifs and buts. And there's a lot of if only. You can't live in the world of if only. We lost the game. We've got to win. We've got, 3, 4. We've got to win, a draw, and a loss. It's not like we lost all 3 games. And it's only 3 games in. Arsenal dropped points. Man United dropped. Look, they lost the other day. They dropped points. They're in a worse position than us. Everton are at the bottom of the league, losing 3 out of 3. So, you know, we're in a far position. First 3 games, there were difficult games, and Newcastle's difficult away anyway. So to come out to play the way we played and how we have been playing up there, I think it's frustration. I think it's lack of it's frustration, and that's what it is. It's because we played well. We didn't play badly. It's not like we rolled up the white flag. We battered them for a good part of that game, but we hit the bar. We just didn't take our chances. So If we took the chances, we win the game. If I had a striker, I think we would have won that game, and that's just my point of view. So, sorry.
Maybe last question for me, and we'll let Jack hop in. Is someone like me, I'm not Ange out. I think to a degree, we have to give the guy a bit of patience. Although I think sacking him over the international break is hard. I get if he loses the North London Derby, there's going to be so much pressure on him, and I get that. But I just feel like when I've looked at the likes of Liverpool with Jurgen Klopp, Arsenal with Arteta, they showed patience, to the manager, and they ended up coming out the other side of it, basically Arsenal competing for stuff, Liverpool winning everything in club football. How much patience do we give Ange Postecoglou, Dermo, if results continue this way?
Look, we give Poch time to get it right. Look where he took us. Keith Birkinshaw got us relegated in his first season. And we didn't get rid of him, and he brought us to success. Jurgen Klopp, they could have got rid of him quite easily after losing 2 finals in a row. They didn't. And you've got to give managers time. We're too quick in pulling the trigger. This is the one time I want Daniel Levy to ignore the noise. I want him to ignore it. I want him to, look, I've got a manager. I trust him. I'm paying him. He will take us to success. Rome wasn't built in a day, and I'm sick of hearing we've got to go through a rebuild. But this is a rebuild. We've got a lot of dead wood out. We've got a lot of players in. Let's look at the positives. Let's take the positives. We've got a lot of the old dead wood out. The only one left there is Ben Davies. We've got young players that are hungry, that want to win. Ange has been backed. He's been backed up to 400 million he has spent on players. It's not like we haven't backed the manager. We have. And he's laying the foundations to put it right. And he will get it right. And he'll prove all his doubters wrong. And I don't want to go through this cycle of sacking a manager within 18 months and going through it again. I just want to stick by him now. Let's stick by Ange. Let's do what we did with Poch and see where we go. And if 3 years' time it doesn't work, then okay, fair enough. But let's stick by the manager. Any manager we've stuck by has been successful.
No. Look, I agree. I think we should stick by him. The question is, but caveat that he has to start bringing results with it 100%. Just quickly, I see some people saying sack Ange, bringing Pochettino. Pochettino's the USA coach now. I'm sorry, he's not giving up that contract to come back to Tottenham Hotspur. So that's not happening. The only one on the market right now is Gareth Southgate or Graham Potter, and they're both shit. So, I don't want either of them. And then Tekken, everyone here was saying when we get Eze, question, did we sign him? First of all, I have heard that, across other stuff. Not here. We never said we were 100% going to get Eze. I said, I want Eze. I don't want anyone else but Eze. And that's a huge difference. I didn't say when we get Eze, we're going to do this, go do that. Because if you listen to what I have to say, the club don't bring in the big signings that I want. I can sit here and demand them, but at the end of the day, they won't bring them in. So, whatever you're hearing somewhere else, don't come over here and say, this is what you guys said when it's just not true. Please don't do that. Take us on what we actually say here. Thank you very much. Jack, any questions for Dermo?
Final question, Dermot. Plenty of people, under Antonio Conte did say that they wanted, a good style of play that represented Tottenham Hotspur, the style of play that they grew up watching, where it's gung-ho, you take it to the opponent, no matter if you are, the worst team, you stand to them toe-to-toe. It seems like fans are maybe more, kind of preferential of results. What do you make of that? Do you think it's maybe showing that people care more about results than style of play?
I was one of them that wanted my Tottenham back. And I was one of them. And I stand by that. We lost yesterday, but I can be proud about how we played yesterday, how we did play well. I can be proud that we went up to Newcastle after losing 4-1 and 6-1 and really showed them we're not this soft touch anymore. Okay, we lost the game. We could have buried Leicester. We beat Everton. We could have won yesterday. We're going in the right direction. I've got my Spurs back, and I will stand by that and stand by Ange to the bitter end. It's not about results. It's about how you play. If you can play well, even if you lose, and them players are given 110%, yes, you're going to be upset with the loss, but you can accept it. It's how these players were playing under Conte and Mourinho and the Poch at the end, where they weren't even trying. This is where you don't accept it. This is where you lose faith. Ange has brought faith back to me. He's brought my Spurs back. I was disillusioned with Tottenham, ready to walk away after 44 years, 43 years of supporting this club. He's given me my faith back. And yesterday, I was proud of that team because we gave it a go. And that's all I could ever ask. Them players on the pitch gave 110%. Yes, there was mistakes. Yes, we didn't win. Yes, we could do better in some areas. But I cannot say we didn't try. We tried. And that's all I can ever ask. And I was proud of that team. I'm proud of Ange and proud of the players. And I will stand by that. And I will stand over that. It's not a losing mentality. It's how I feel. And I will stand over that comment.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, Dermo, where can people find you, my man?
Yeah. So, look, if you like, we have to say not everyone does. But if you do... you can go on over to HFC today. We've got a lot of stuff over there. We've got a show this week, basically on its top 4 more important than cups. So we've got that coming up tomorrow or Wednesday. Me and Tequila, and then me and Tequila are also going to look at the transfer window. We're going to look at the 25-man squad next week as well, and then of course we're going to cover the Ireland-England game on our other channel as well. So we've got taking a few days off. As well as these guys, please like and subscribe here as well. But I am on the march to 2K, so I'd love to get there. I really would appreciate it. We all put a lot of work into our channels, and I would like to get this. But thank you guys for having me on, and thank you for giving me my start in YouTube world 3 years ago. So really grateful to the pair of you, and please like and subscribe. Let's get these guys to 20K. They deserve that more than anyone.
Big up, Dermatron. Really appreciate it, my man. And have a good evening, sir.
Thank you very much.
Take it easy,
have a good evening. See you soon, Dermatron. People, please get over to his channel, show him some support, and smash that subscribe button. A really, really nice guy. Just quickly take this from Scott Nelson. Nelson, Dave, how can you still support Ange if things continue as it is? He should be sacked by December for sure. Look, the reason why I'm still behind Ange Postecoglou right now is I really like Ange Postecoglou. I think, when I look at his tactics, it helps us dominate games. Now, of course, no point in dominating games if you're not going to take points. But I just don't believe at the first sign of trouble, knee-jerking and sacking a manager is the right thing to do. Because if it is, if it is the right thing to do, why haven't we won a trophy when everyone said to sack Ange, when everyone said to sack Nuno, when everyone said to sack Jose Mourinho? So it's clear to me that sacking managers is only going to bring this club backwards, and that you have to stick by someone and give them an opportunity to build it. Now, of course, like I said, I caveat that he has to start bringing results very, very quickly with this. If he doesn't, then I'm not naive to know there comes a point where it's like, look, despite me liking him, despite his tactics, getting us up into the final third, which is where I want to play my football, if results don't come with it, it's going to cost him his job and he has to go. I'm not naive to that. I'm not completely deluded. I'm not unwavering, 100% blind faith behind the guy. I like to think I'm fair. I just don't believe hiring and firing managers when you don't have owners that are going to back that and give them squads that they need to go on and push on is the right decision. If we had an Abramovich here who was going to spend 200 million every transfer window under every single manager and give him exactly what he wants, I'd say, okay, this is the policy. If you come in, you're not winning anything within a couple of weeks, you're out the door. But when we don't have owners like that, the only other route is to build something. And that's where I'm at with it, to be honest with you. And that's where I'm at with it. To be brutally honest with you, Scotty Nelson, let me know what your thoughts are on that. But look, we keep it moving. I believe the next guest we have on is Brad Matthews. Let's hear what he has to say. Big up, Brad. How are you, sir?
Hello, gentlemen. Oh, a little bit confused. Don't really know what to think at the moment. It's quite weird. I think we've played well in our first 3 games, and with a bit better finishing, we might be 9 points in 9. If you look back to under Nuno, we were 9 points in 9, but we didn't play very well. So it's that's how football goes. The only thing that worried me yesterday was, and with the Leicester game for that matter, was that I'm getting to predict what's going to happen now. That's the only thing that worries me. Against Leicester, when we didn't finish them off, I thought they're going to go at the other end and score. And I thought exactly the same against Newcastle when we were in the game at 1-1 and we were playing well. I just had that thought that, what normally happens is that Tottenham will concede, and we seem to concede goals when we're on top. And that's not a good thing. But we're only 3 games into the season. Ange has been in football management for God knows how many years. He knows more about football than I do. He probably knows more about football than most people on this chat. We've all got opinions, but we're not all football managers, So, I'm hoping that he'll suss out the problem. We'll get a bit of luck sometimes, and it will turn it around. It's just very, very confusing, very, very frustrating. But the upside is we've actually played well. Many people last week were saying, "Oh, this is going to be a walkover. Newcastle's going to put 4 or 5 past us." So even though we might have lost, we still did a lot better than what a lot of people were saying was going to happen last week. So it's. I won't deny that I'm a bit down about it. That I'm starting to have a few doubts about whether the Premiership and the teams in the Premiership and the managers that we're facing and the players we're facing might be a little bit too much for the style of football we play. But having said that, Ange's been in football management for a long, long time, and even though he won't change his system totally, everyone's calling for a back three. He's not going to do that. Sorry. He might be. I've got faith in that he'll be able to tweak it here and there, and we'll improve. And as I said at the start of the season, I expected a slow start, but I think we'll get better. So yeah.
Brad, are you starting to notice that maybe results kind of mean more to the fans than the style of play?
It's funny, isn't it? Because a few years ago under Mourinho and under Conte, that was the opposite, wasn't it? It's like, we want to see good football. I'm fed up with this boring football. Now, I'm of the opinion that you can play really good football and winning football as well. I think you can do that. All this talk about, you got to be pragmatic to win things. No, I think you can play really good football. Look at the Spurs double winning team. The push and run team. Absolutely brilliant football. And they won stuff. So, it can be done. I just hope that we give this manager some time. And, let's face it, it took Pochettino a few years to get us challenging for things. I think what's important, what's really important at this stage, I think we need to win something. I think everyone will, once we get that off our shoulders, and I think this is the same with the players as well. Once they get that little monkey off their back, or whatever you want to call it, whatever cliche you want to use, I think that'll do us a world of good. So I'm at the moment, look, I want Tottenham to finish as high up the table as possible. But let's be honest, we're not going to be challenging for titles this season. So I'm actually of the opinion, I've got this opinion or this thought that I'm not that worried about the league at the moment. I just want to win something. And we're in a Europa League where we've got winnable games. We're in. If we beat Coventry away, we're in the quarterfinals of the League Cup. So one game we're in the quarterfinals. Admittedly, there are some good teams left in that competition in the quarterfinals. The FA Cup's coming up, so I just think a win will be really, really important at the moment. So yeah, I'm a bit down about it. I'm having little doubts. I'm not wavering. I think we should stick with Ange Postecoglou as our manager.
Does he have to win the North London Derby, though, Brad?
I don't think he has to win it. I think we need to certainly not lose it. Now, the problem with a draw would be a good result for Tottenham, but how a draw goes. If we're 2-0 up with 5 minutes to go and we drew 2-2, everyone's going to be really, really pissed off. But if we're 2-0 down with 10 minutes to go and we get the draw, it's great. So yeah, I don't think he has to win it, but I think we need to certainly not lose it. And that was what I was thinking yesterday. When we're dominating the team, the one thing you want to say, well, let's dominate this team, but let's make sure we don't lose the game. And unfortunately, yesterday we did lose the game. Now you can blame Romero, you can blame someone actually is on. I watched your show today, Jack, the Twitter one. Someone's blaming Dragusin for not stepping up for offside. So there's all different little things and that that could contributed towards it. But
everything feels so 50-50, Brad. It's like either they're Ange in or they're Ange out, or it was Romero's fault, it was Dragusin's fault. Like I just can't seem to find any sort of cohesive agreement on anything.
But it's to call him for his he wouldn't be sacked, and and there's a look, football's all about opinions. I know that, but there's a lot of people in all the chats, all the shows I've seen that seem to know, yeah, this is what should happen, that should happen. He should be doing this, he should be doing that. Oh, he's useless, blah, 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 blah. Well, he's a manager. He's been, basically gone from level to level to level, and now he's got to the very pinnacle of the levels coaching the Premiership. Will he be found out? Will it be one step too far? We won't really know. Let's this time last season we're all going, we're winning our games. 10 games in, we're going to win the title. Suddenly it all slipped away. It could be the other way around the season. We could have a really poor start to the season, 10 games, everybody going, this is really shit. And then suddenly we'll have a good finish to the season. So it's an unknown quantity. It's an unknown quantity at the moment. So let's hope that. And they say attack is the best form of defence. So you outscore the opposition. You go 2 or 3 goals up. Then they not only do they you win the game, but they also lose that sort of thing to actually go out and try and get a point. Newcastle or any team for that matter, when you're 1-0 up or 1-1. If you've been outplayed, you think, well, we've still got a chance.
Yeah.
If you're 2 or 3 down and being outplayed, you think, well, let's call it a day sort of thing, Although, and it's very interesting. I mean, look at Everton. They should have absolutely smashed Bournemouth on Saturday.
Yeah.
Absolutely should have smashed them. How they lost that, unbelievable. So it could be worse. We could be Everton supporters.
True. I mean, we keep hiring foreign managers. It won't be long before we're down there ourselves, Brad. But look, I keep hearing when it comes to Ange Postecoglou, not only Ange, it was the same under Conte, Jose Mourinho. They need to adapt. But in Ange Postecoglou's case, Fuggy Foam says here, my only problem with Ange is he's refusing to adjust his tactics. No Van de Ven, but still plays the same way with Romero not playing in his best position. Is that something that Ange needs to do? If Van de Ven is out, that he needs to drop that line back 5-10 yards to navigate the fact that he doesn't have Van de Ven's pace to be able to cut out that goal, because some would argue if he was there yesterday, he would have caught Isak and maybe being able to stop that.
I think people sort of say he doesn't change, but I'm pretty sure he's making little changes that we just don't see. In fact, they interviewed Van de Ven, didn't they? 2 or 3 games, I think, before the first game or after the first game, and he was saying, we've made a few adjustments how we play the game. And the other thing with the high line is that that they play the offside trap. He said you don't sort of see that, that we stop a lot of counter-attacks by playing the offside trap. So I think, I do get the point of dropping back a little bit for that because of your lack of pace. But, maybe that's what we don't know. Maybe he said that at halftime or before the game, and they just didn't follow it through. So if that's the case, then it's the players' fault and not the manager. So we don't know. We don't know what goes on behind closed doors. If he's been in management for this long in football and he's won stuff all around the world, you don't do that by just being totally stubborn and not changing a thing. You do adapt slightly. And I think he's even said himself about adapting to the Premiership because it's a different league, it's a tougher league, it's a quicker league. So I think to say he's stubborn, he doesn't adapt, I think that's wrong, in my opinion, anyway.
Okay. Isn't that kind of the thing, though, that's probably dividing fans right now, is that a lot of the games Spurs fans feel like they have been the better team, but then the result doesn't really match the performance. And I think that's where Spurs fans are just finding, just sort of seedings of doubt, with the fact that, yes, they feel like we're playing well, but then we end up still losing or we end up still dropping points. So it's just kind of this funny, kind of mixed bag of, where Spurs fans, they just want to see the results come with the good performances. But it's been a while now with Ange that this has been a trend where just the results aren't really going for us, but the performances seem to be relatively strong, and it's been hard to understand.
If you look at, if you put 2 seasons together and you have a good first half of the season and a bad second half of the season, then the following season you have a bad first half and a good second half, so maybe that's what's happening now. Maybe we're doing this now. I mean, I think we call it about. I mean, we didn't have a striker for the game against Newcastle. If you put, I mean that's what. All right, you can't replace Harry Kane. We know that, but a decent striker will be in those positions. I think there's one bit where Brendan Johnson. I think Brendan Johnson, when he came on, I think he was very effective yesterday. I think he did what he should be doing. He had that ball and he put the ball across, and I think Son just suddenly stopped. And if you'd have gone for it, maybe you would have got there and got the touch. So it's those sort of things that happen. The only irony being that we actually got the own goal was the goal we actually did score. But there was lots of moments there. There are a lot of moments where I think we tend to try and pass the ball into the net. I think someone earlier said have a shot, but that's been a Tottenham problem for a long, long time. Not shooting on sight, and we have to be quicker. I mean, the horrible thing about yesterday was that we watched that and were so disappointed, and then I had to stay and watch Liverpool basically swat Man United away. That's the worst thing.
I was saying that to Dave. That I think the big problem is that the German guy Hertzler is doing so well, and then also Arne Slot doing so well. It doesn't really help. I think things out for Ange.
I think my local pub yesterday had the Ealing branch of the Liverpool Supporters Club there because there's like about a dozen people in their red Liverpool tops and that sort of thing, and so see them win. But then I think David, you made the point, or Dermot made the point that I mean he's come into a team that have been playing together for many, many years and have won things. So he's whereas we're still in this sort of progression where we're trying to improve. And it took Klopp a while. It took Pochettino a while. It's taken Arteta. I mean, Arteta's been 8 years, 9 years, what it is. Now they're doing stuff. So we've got to be calm. We mustn't panic. As the old Dad's Army, don't panic. So, but I can't deny that I'm a bit down about it at the moment. But hey, hopefully in 2 weeks' time, maybe they might surprise us. The irony will be that Arsenal just totally dominate us the whole game, and then we'll come up with a lucky goal and get a result. That's the way football works, and we'll all be happy. We'll all be celebrating. So
yeah. Well. Look, let's Brad, North London Derby, just quickly before we let you go, my man. How do you think it's going to go for us?
You know what? I was chatting to an Arsenal fan yesterday, and a decent one as well. And I actually said to him, "I'd bite your hand off for a draw." So look, it's. I think we can get. I think we can avoid defeating that game. I think we can. Well, I think we can give them a game. Put it that way. And when you give a team a game, it's decisions that go your way or don't go your way, or a bit of luck you might get. So I think we'll give them a game. Hopefully the crowd will be. Well, I know the crowd will be up for it. I booked Monday off for the holiday because it's on a 2:00 kickoff, so it's gonna be a long, long day. But I think we can get something out of it. And Tottenham one thing that Tottenham do is they do what you least expect them to do. So I'm hopeful. Always hopeful.
I'm glad that you reserved the following day to either celebrate a great result or perhaps mourn whatever ends up happening. I think that's a very smart move by yourself there, Brad. We do have Blue Sofa Songs, your channel in here. Would you like to give yourself a plug and maybe any final thoughts from yourself?
Yes, anyone that doesn't know, I am a songwriter who writes songs where I write all the lyrics, do all the music, play all the instruments, do all the videos, which may be a video of pictures or it might be me miming to what I've already recorded, depending on how I feel. There's some social comments in there, some songs about feelings, there's songs about all sorts of stuff in there. I'm very proud of my channel. I've got a playlist called the Top 10, which is my sort of top 10 songs, I think, which is a good place to start if you have a look. The song that I recently released called My England, which I'm very, very proud of. Unfortunately, not a lot of people seem to be viewing it at the moment, so I'd be very appreciative if you could get on there and just give it a view, even if it's once. It all helps the algorithms and click a like and all that sort of lovely, wonderful stuff. And once again, thanks to Dave and Jack for allowing me to plug it and always being there for me. And we're in this together, as they say. So
we suffer together, Brad.
Yeah, we do, exactly. It's we all share the burden. We all share the burden.
I want to thank you because it's moments like these where you bring a bit of calm and stuff like that, So I really appreciate it, Brad. And everybody, please get over, check out his channel as well. He does his own music. We like to support Spurs fans doing their own thing, so please get across there and check it out. Brad, thank you very much, sir, and have a good rest of your evening.
Great call,
thank
Brad.
You guys. Come on, you Spurs. In Ange we trust. Celebrate everything.
Good man, Brad. Appreciate
See
you.
you, Brad. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Have a good evening. Absolutely brilliant call from there, from Brad there. Always has, a degree of balance in and amongst the calms, the extreme highs and the extreme lows. So big up to Brad for that. let's keep it moving. Guys, make sure you do check out his channel, by the way. It puts a lot of work into the music and stuff like that. And if all of you were, any of you were doing the same, we'd do the exact same for you guys. So please get over there and check it out. But look, let's keep this moving. The next guest we have on is Eddie. Let's see what he has to say. Good evening, Eddie. How are you, sir?
I'm good. You, David, Jack?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Just quickly, I was about to bring this up. Forgot to bring it up before he came on. He says, I'll give you a quick preview of where I stand. It was not the system's fault we lost. It was the switching of players and lack of finishing. If we had any of our three strikers, we win that game. Come on, you Spurs. And then Daryl also says, do you think tactical, better managerial players on the front foot football would get better results with this squad? So take it away, Eddie.
Yeah, as I said, if we had any other three strikers, and I do mean any of them, including Will Lancashire, I think we do actually get a result out of that game. Unfortunately, because I don't feel Son isn't a good centre forward. We all know this. It's just a fact. He just isn't the best centre forward that we have. He's a good finisher of the ball, a good dribble of the ball, but he just doesn't have the mind space and the prowess of a striker to get into that box and put chances away as like any other striker would. And if we had Richie, Solanke, or Will, I feel like those players would do a lot better than what Son did. In what Brad said last is Son stopped when Johnson crossed the ball. Any of our strikers would have kept on running to get to that ball. They wouldn't have just stopped in the middle of the box. They would keep on running to get that ball. Because that cross was coming in no matter what. Johnson hold tent, and if we had a striker, we put away a lot of those chances, and we actually bury Newcastle, and Newcastle wouldn't be able to come back. A lot of people are complaining about defense. Our defense, the only problem with our defense was the players switching off. Dragusin had a great game. I think Paul had all right game. So did Udogi. They didn't do much bad, but it was a Mero lack of composure and actually switching off in the back that cost us in the end, unfortunately. And you can see that even with Donovan gone, we still played quite well in the defense, even with him gone. With those, we didn't really get exposed that much by the high line because Dragusin was able to get back and to basically sideswept Isaac out of the way. It wasn't because we had VDV. It's the reason we lost. It was because we didn't have a striker we lost. We can play this system without VDV. All Donovan does is make the system a lot better. We can play the system without him, but the problem was, in the end, our lack of finishing.
Okay. So you think Ange is still the right man to take us forward then? Because look, I get what you're saying, and to me, I sort of agree. I think the Leicester game, you take your chances. We're not even talking about the back line, same as yesterday. But the problem is we have strikers, but none of them are fit and available ever, or they don't take their chances. So, it's this fanciful thinking then with Ange if it relies so heavily on having that striker.
No, because every club relies on having a number 9. Every club. You saw last season when City didn't have Haaland, they didn't play the best. They got over in the end, but Arsenal pushed them right to the end. Unlike the season before when they had Haaland throughout the whole season, they've dominated the whole league, and Arsenal slipped up, and City just won in the end. Last season, they didn't have Haaland. Arsenal was able to keep them pushing them right to the end of the day. Some people would say, but Arsenal was better. But even with that, City didn't have Haaland, and they lost games because of that. We are the same. Every top club needs a striker. They cannot win a title without a proper number 9. You see that at Arsenal currently. They have Gabriel Jesus, but they still aren't critical. People would say this because they scored a lot of goals last season, but a lot of that season, they didn't score that many goals. They were winning 1-0 or drawing a couple of games. They weren't scoring a lot. There was that one big patch where they were scoring bunch, and these were all against bad teams. These weren't against like top teams. These were against really shitty teams, and they were scoring these goals. So every single team needs a striker. No team can win without a striker. So I feel like it is ridiculous to think that Ange's system isn't going to work without a striker, because nobody's system is going to work without a proper number 9. It's just how football is. You need someone to put the ball at the back of the net. At the end of the day, that's how you win the game. You get goals, and we didn't have that person on the field, and that will cost us in the end. Not putting the ball in the back of the net.
It could also be a lack of a number 9, but do you also think, Edward, that maybe some of the wingers need to do a better job in the finishing department? Because Odebear misses an open net. You also look at Sonny, made some pretty poor decisions at certain points, also just didn't really get any of his shots on target. Brendan Johnson, I thought, made a really good impact, but he had a couple of breakaways that he didn't necessarily maybe do the best with. Do you just feel like maybe the wingers just also need to step up in the finishing department? Yes, they're not strikers, but they've had some easy chances that they've spurned.
Yeah, they should have stepped up that game. That again with Odebear missing that open goal, you got to also admit he's flying at that ball, so it is not the easiest of finish to put away. Yes, you should just tap it away in the end, but it's not the easiest to finish in the end. I do agree. Our wingers have let us down, especially Sonny in the finishing department. He is a world-class finisher, but he hasn't been showing it the last couple of games. He hasn't been showing it for a while. So we really need Sonny to step up. We need Johnson to keep that form of playing on the wing and actually add some more goals to that, because he played quite well in the wing that game. He made an instant impact. You can see what Ange thought process was. Switch the 2 wings, drop Kulu, and bring Sonny into the forward. It actually worked for large parts of that second half. We just didn't put our chances away. So you can see Ainge trying to adapt to the game, and people go, "Oh, he doesn't have game management." He did. He literally made a substitution at halftime, dropped Papa Matasar, and bring on Johnson to add something different to that front line, which was more pace in the end, and that all works. And that worked because we put Newcastle under so much pressure. We got our own goal out of it pretty quickly in the end from that mistake from Dan Burn, because Johnson went for the goal. But in the end, we need to put our chances away, and we didn't that game. So we're going to lose. It's just that simple. We can be dominant for the whole match, and we were dominant for pretty much the whole match. And this is St. James's Park. No one goes up to St. James's Park and dominate Newcastle, because no one can really do that. When you go to St. James's Park, you get dominated. The fact Ange went there and dominated them with this team, without a striker, without VDV, is to show the direction we are going. And the games management from Ange was actually, I thought it was pretty good in the end. I still think he could have made substitution a little bit quicker, because you can see we were losing towards the end. We needed some new legs in there. He made it too late, in my opinion. But in the end, I think games management was quite well, especially at halftime, where he sent Johnson out to add something different to the front line, and it worked. We got a goal. We just wasn't able to continue that sort of pressure and get another one and actually bury them.
Yeah, and just quickly on maybe a question that we haven't brought up with people on that second goal that we conceded, Edward, was Romero at fault? Was someone else at fault? Is it a combination of everyone involved? What did you make of that second goal? Because it was very divided, but what people thought of who's really at fault for it.
It's a couple. It is a couple of people at fault for that. One, it was Jaguzin not playing the offside trap that Romero tried to play. And had that offside trap worked, then the goal would never stand. I can understand why players wanted to go back without that first mind. They go, "Oh shit, the through ball, we need to get back." That's what they were trying to do. But in the end, Romero made an attempt to play it. But the moment the offside trap doesn't work, you get back. You run after that ball and you try to stop the attack. And Romero didn't do that. He stopped. He just didn't run after the ball. So yes, I feel like he didn't show leadership in that respect, and he didn't show what him as the vice captain of this club, and basically the next captain after Sonny, because you always see when Sonny goes off, Romero gets the armband. He didn't show that leadership we needed. He should have went after that ball, even if he didn't get to it, even there was no chances of him catching Isaac. He needs to show that he isn't giving up, that this game is not over. It's not over to the whistle goes. He needs to get to that ball and stop Isaac at every chance he can. And unfortunately, he just didn't do that. So it really did cost us in the end. because everyone heads dropped after that. It's just we weren't really going to get back into it after that.
Yeah. And then the other question that I've been asking everyone, Edward, is do you feel like fans are starting to show that maybe results mean more to them than the actual style of play?
Yeah, people, it's just how fans are. They flip-flop. They want good style of play one minute, but when they have it, they want results along with it. And sometimes results don't always follow with good style of play. Sometimes. Most times they should, but sometimes they don't. In this instant, we didn't get the result we wanted. We did. You also got to remember, if you look back at all our results with Newcastle, we haven't had a low-scoring game for the longest time. It's always been 4-0, 6-1, 4-1. We have always had a high-scoring game with Newcastle. This was always going to be a competitive game. We should also just go look back at it and go, it wasn't that high scoring in the end. We put up a better fight than we did last season. I remember last season, I tuned in like during halfway through the second half, and I just remember tuning to hear Dave screaming at Brendan Johnson, and I was like, "Oh, it's going that bad, huh?" And it wasn't going well last season at St James's Park. This season, it went much better. It's just so the progress we have made. Some fans would go, "Oh, but Newcastle aren't the top form of it." St. James's Park is a different breed. No one goes there and do well. We went there, did well. We should all hold our heads high and go, we put up a game. We put up a fight at St. James's Park. Yes, we should have gotten a result. Yes, we should have done better. But those are all, yes, those are not that what happened. The facts are the facts. We lost, but also the facts that we did well at the game. We should all stop going in on Ange and stop going in on Ange so heavily, because all it's going to do is make Levy get a tricky. Can't
make
find
him doubt
words
himself.
there.
Yeah.
Make him doubt himself. Get a really itchy trigger figure with that firing. We all know how Levy gets. If we keep putting pressure on Ange, he's just going to pull that trigger. We'll have to start all over again. And there's no one good at the moment. Graham Potter is shit. Southgate's the worst manager I've ever seen. There's a former Juve manager. He was shit. And anyone else I can think of that aren't good managers. You can see that. We don't have any other options.
Yeah.
So we all need to get behind this team, get behind Ange, and into going to the North London derby. No one should talk about the Newcastle result. What we should be talking about is how we're going to do this game. What is Ange going to do differently? Who he's going to play? Because we should have all our strikers back that game. Hopefully Richie is back, so he can be on the bench. We'll see, because he's picked up another injury, for God's sake. If not, I want to see Will Lancashire in that squad. I want to see him in and around. Yeah, but from what I've heard, it was only a minor injury. He should be back for the Arsenal game, from what I've been told. So hopefully he is back for that game, and I see him in and around that squad. You saw Divine in and around that squad. We are seeing our youngsters in and around that squad, training with the first team and actually getting some benches appearance. It would be nice to see them come on. But for these sort of fixtures, you doubt you'll see many youngsters from our academy who haven't played men's first team football as much as these Archie Gray and Barwell has. So yes, we need to be patient with Ange and this squad. I feel like results will get better as the season go on. It's been a rough start, but I still feel like we are in contention for top 4 and a couple of trophies here and there.
Edward, that's what the fan base clearly needs and is wanting this year by the looks of things. People are desperate, people are impatient, and we've been waiting a long time now. So I think people are just starting to show that signs of desperation for winning as well as trophies, hopefully at the end of it. But a great call as always from you, sir.
Always a pleasure, mate. It's always a pleasure. Just so much fun coming on.
Thank you very much for your time this evening, Eddie, or this morning for you. And we'll speak to you again very, very soon, sir. Great calling. Have a good one. Everyone, big up, Eddie. Another great calling. Everyone has so much to say this evening. It's absolutely fantastic, making our job easier. Before we bring on the next guest, I am going to give the call out. If there is anyone that does have a fan show membership, elite membership, that does want to come on, I'll leave the link up for the next 2 minutes. After that, I will be taking it out. So make it known if you do want to get on. But look, let's keep this moving. We'll bring the next guest in, and it is the one and only Sammy boy. Sam, how are you keeping, sir?
Yeah, I mean, could have been better, lads. What about you?
Feeling better as well, to be brutally honest with you. I mean, I'm just pissed off with losing games at Tottenham Hotspur. It actually doesn't matter whether you've got a defensive manager that sits 11 men behind the ball or someone that wants to go and attack and score goals. We just cannot win games of football, and it's pissing me off, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating. I was kind of thinking about what Dermo said in the first call, and he said about, I didn't obviously, I'm not old enough to have watched Ozzy Ardiles football, but he said about, oh, you know, you never knew what was going to happen when you went into the game. But the problem is, I feel like you do know what's going to happen with us. We don't take our chances. The opposition gets one shot on target and they score it. And then all of a sudden we lose all of our momentum that we've built throughout the game, and, you know, all the domination we've had. And I think that, you know, I'm not Ange out. I want to start by saying that, but I am definitely concerned by, you know, the way that we keep sort of throwing games away. And I know we're only 3 games into the season, but we have to be honest. It's not just this season that's been happening. You know, it's annoying because every time we, you know, we get a foothold in the game, like yesterday, suddenly we just take our foot off the gas. You know, the decision making goes out the door. And I saw someone saying on Twitter, and probably a few people saying it, you know, oh, a few silly mistakes cost us the game, and, you know, it's not the system. But I do think that, and I've said it before, so it's not a new thing about where I'm complaining about the inverted fullbacks. But, you know, I do think that basically we concede every single mistake that we make, and I worry that, like, a system shouldn't basically mean, like, our system shouldn't
should
cost
allow
us a goal.
mistakes, basically.
Yeah, exactly. We should have the cover that allows us to make a mistake and not get punished. I mean, even in the Leicester game, right? We could have been punished by that Bergvall mistake, but we got lucky with some not poor finishing, but, you know, a mix of sort of average finishing and Vicario being good, you know, getting down low. But so I am definitely concerned. I'm not Ange out, but I'd like to see some sort of tweaks. I think someone else said it on the fan show already.
What tweaks would you like to see, Eddie? Or Sam, sorry. Eddie on the brain. What tweaks would you like to see?
Look, I'll keep beating it and banging my head against the brick wall until something happens, but I need to not see both fullbacks inverted. I'm happy for the fullbacks to invert, like, you know, in the game, but I don't want that to be their base positions, right? I just think that we're not utilizing the strength, even though our fullbacks play well in that sort of midfield role. We're not utilizing the strengths of why we bought these players in the first place. I mean, I said to my friend yesterday, who's a Chelsea fan, I genuinely think that Porro is, you know, on par attacking wise with Trent. Like, his passing is unreal as well. And we don't allow him to put those crosses in the box. Admittedly, yesterday we didn't really have that target, and I didn't think that Kulusevski was great in the first half.
Yeah.
And I will give Ange and the team that bit of I'll cut them a bit of slack and say, you know, without the strikers, it was always going to be difficult when Newcastle sit in a 5-4-1 as their base formation. So, you know, it's always going to be hard to try and dance through their team when Dan Burn can get run past and then stick out one of his bloody legs, and, you know, we're already gone, but his leg just hooks the ball away. So yeah, I think it is the fullbacks, because you can't. I'll keep saying it. You can't expect not to concede goals if you've only got 2 defenders and they're narrow, because every team, we've seen it pretty much since the Chelsea game. Every single team just pings a long ball to the flank, and we have to scramble back to get into the box.
Did you see that much in the Newcastle game? It felt like Newcastle really threatened us in the first half, but then they sort of petered away in the second half.
But yeah, look, I agree, and there are definitely positives to take from the game, because I wasn't I didn't necessarily think. I thought we were going to win 2-1 going into the game. I didn't think we were going to get smoked because I've watched a bit of Newcastle this season and I've been fairly underwhelmed with how they've played. And I was looking at it just thinking, if we actually tidy up a little bit, we should be able to win this game with no real problem. Then obviously I see Van der Ven's out and I see that Solanke's out, and I was a little bit more worried, but I still thought we had enough to take it to them. But I think that sloppy mistakes, again, as we've said, cost us. I thought Romero was definitely at fault for the first goal. I don't have a problem with him pressing out, but when you actually watch the goal back, he basically just allows Harvey Barnes to run into the box unmarked because Basuma drops in to fill his centre-back position, and Kuti basically, he's at the speed that I am running around Hyde Park, jogging back towards the box, and you're thinking, you've got to get back in there and fill in the box. Obviously, don't get me wrong, it was a great finish from Barnes, and that's like a 99 out of 100 that goes wide. But this time it didn't, and that seems to happen against us all the time. That these strikes, especially we've seen a lot of them in games against Chelsea, where Matic scores a bloody banger from like 40 yards, and we get nowhere near it. It happens with Rakitic. All these players seem to score great goals against us. But the second one, I think it's kind of everyone's fault. I can understand why people are blaming Dragusin because he is dropping back. But if you look at that still of all the players in the line as the ball's played, Kuti's actually the only one who's moving forwards. The fullbacks are running backwards. Yep. It's just that Dragusin is a step ahead of them. So I think it's
does that not show the lack of communication, though, Sammy? Romero has one idea and the rest does, and that we just, because in years gone by, when I grew up watching football, you'd always see the centre back in charge communicating, shouting, dragging people in, helping them through the game and stuff like that. But that picture, that still image there, shows for me zero communication, and if there was, that's easily resolved.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, because anyone who played football growing up, I was a fullback, but the centre back would always call the line. You step up together, you drop together. So it does feel a bit schoolboy that we've sort of failed in that aspect. I do think the high line can work. I'm not saying I want him to abandon the high line, but in sort of pivotal moments, I would like to see us gradually get a little bit further back. If we're away at one of the hardest places to go in the league, in St. James's Park, the crowd were up for it. You just need to show a bit of I don't know what the word is, but just a bit of we showed a little bit of naivety, thinking we were just going to go there, play them off the park, and we weren't going to get punished. But they love a long ball. And a lot of teams love a long ball against us. I think one thing that really annoyed me, actually, before I came on, I watched the sort of highlights again, just so it was fresh in my mind. I thought that Timo Werner, when he came on, was awful. Yeah. And
barely even remembered him being on, to be honest.
I basically saw him run in circles between Newcastle players who had the ball, offering nothing in the press. They were just going, oh, you're just going to run sort of backwards and forwards between us. But in the second goal, when Maddison misses the ball, which I don't blame Maddis for, because we were having quite a lot of joy with that in the game. Timo doesn't even, he just sort of like stands there, and Joe Ellington's got the freedom of the park to pick out a ball with no pressure on him whatsoever. So that's where my frustration is with that, because I probably wouldn't have brought Timo on. I would have pushed Kulu back to striker and maybe brought on Bergvall earlier, or brought on Gray, so that we had a bit more defensive stability going into the latter stages of the game.
No, I think that's a very fair point. And in the case of the goal that we conceded in the second goal we conceded, I kind of came to that conclusion that it was kind of a bit of everyone involved, because it was kind of Dragusin and some of the other guys for deciding to drop back. But, kind of what Ange wants is to catch them in that offside trap. And when you also are so high up as well, like you're practically at the halfway line, I think when you do start dropping back, you are basically giving them that space in behind. You kind of do have to be brave enough to try to step up. But Udogie, as well as also Poro, they were also dropping back. So it was just kind of a miscommunication on all their parts. And I'd agree with you as well on sort of the Timo Werner lack thereof. With Madison, though, maybe kind of looked like he had a pretty good game for the most part. And I actually liked some of the times when he worked, to win the ball back for us. And I kind of, what you said about teams finishing their chances. I think that's what's frustrating for me, Sam, is that we seem to get 30 times more chances than the opposition do, but yet the opposition just take theirs so much better than we do. And it's not even like theirs are more clear cut at times. Like I would say that Harvey Barnes chance was one of the hardest chances he could have tried to finish. Whereas us, we have like 3-on-2s and 3-on-3s, and we don't even get a shot on target. It's really pathetic.
Shocking.
Look, definitely. I think the main one that kind of springs to mind is when we nicked the ball off one of their midfielders or their centre backs, and it sort of came to a 2-on-1 with Son and Odegaard, and it just showed that little bit, Odegaard's lack of finesse, let's say, where he kind of was caught in two minds. Like, do I slip it to Son, or do I take the chance to go around the defender or take the shot? And in that 2-second delay where he probably should have just slipped it to Son, he tried to take a shot. Meanwhile, they got another player back and they closed it down. So that was a chance spurned. But
yeah,
as you say, Jack, that's the kind of chance that, we give away to one of these teams and they bury that.
Yeah.
And it happens like every other game pretty much. We make a mistake like that and we get punished, which kind of leads back to my first point, that I worry that the system doesn't allow for any mistakes. And you don't want to make mistakes in the Premier League or in any football, but mistakes are going to happen, right? And you have to be able to deal with them.
No, that's the risk reward nature of football. Is we play the risk reward of we want to create a ton of chances so that we can just blow the opposition away, but we do leave ourselves more open than other teams do at the back. Whereas previously, what like Jose and Conte, their kind of reliance was on pretty much conceding no real chances to the opposition, and then hopefully we get like one or two opportunities to try to score, and then we just have to take them because we're only going to create so many opportunities. It is this kind of give and take sort of nature. And Spurs at the moment, like the wingers, as much as everyone's saying we needed a striker the last game, I'd agree. I feel like the wingers have to take a ton of responsibility because they have been woeful in front of goal. The fact that some of those shots are getting blocked when they should be able to get it on target. I think it was only Pop Matasar and Madison that pretty much got the majority of our shots on target. And those were all from well outside the box. Whereas guys like Sonny, Johnson, Odegaard, they had their shots blocked in like really, one-on-one type situations where they should be able to get a good shot off, and they just don't. And I think they have to look at themselves, and it's not really always a striker that can bury the chances for you. We need more clinical wingers, guys that can actually put away these opportunities. Because the fact that Harvey Barnes finishes that first time, with the inside of his boot and curls it around Vicario, it's a ridiculous finish. And yet we're looking at guys with an open net like Odegaard, and he like knees it, over the bar. It's just ridiculous to watch.
Yeah, I mean, that was a difficult chance for Odegaard. Look, I do think he should have scored it, but it was kind of an awkward height where, like, it's kind of too low to header and too high to get a foot on. So he almost had to like go with his stomach to kind of like chest it in. Look, don't get me wrong, like he should have scored, but that would have been a very important goal. But I'm trying to like hold back on my judgment for Odegaard because I've not actually been super impressed with him. I think that obviously it's nice to see a winger take on their fullback and take on their player, and he does that well. But his decision making is leaving a lot to be desired, and I think it kind of falls back on what I think a lot of people agree on was a poor window in terms of bringing signings in. Yeah. And I've heard a lot of people say, we wasted a spot on Timo Werner. We should have had Odegaard as the Timo Werner signing, and then actually gone and signed, a more out-and-out winger. And I know they wanted to sign Pedro Neto, but what would have happened? We would have signed Pedro Neto and signed no one else.
Do you know what? The window stinks to me of a DOF who couldn't get his targets, and we had to pivot all window long for the majority of the window, and that's why it took so long for some of these signings to come in, because we couldn't get our original choice. It absolutely stinks of it for me. It was the same when Steve Hitchen was here. You know, we're looking at this, and this, but then we bring in players that are way below the caliber because we've had to pivot, and it absolutely stinks of that for me. I think time will tell. It'll probably come out slowly, but you know, time will tell on that one. But Sammy, really appreciate the call this evening, my man. And we'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Well, I'll see you guys on Thursday.
Yeah. See you on Thursday, my man.
See you, Sam.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Appreciate
Hopefully
you.
we don't dwell on it too much.
We probably will. It's okay.
Probably will. Sleepless nights. But Sammy, you have a good evening, my man. Have a good one.
You too, lads. Enjoy.
See you, lad.
Good call.
Bye-bye. Great call. Absolute great call from Sammy, and a great call from all the guests today.
Yeah,
you know,
so far, really great call.
Getting stuff off their chest, which is absolutely great to see, because me and Jack are tired, so it's even better for us. But look, let's keep this moving. Let's, I believe it's Daniel Larson next. Let me just check the list.
Yeah, let's make sure we're not skipping Daniel, because I keep doing that every single fan show.
Daniel Larson's next. So we've got Daniel, we've got Donovan, and then we should probably have Michael, Sean, then Paul to end, and then that will be the guest we have this evening. So, Daniel Larson, let's bring him on. Let's hear what he has to say. Good evening, Daniel. You were very, very angry yesterday in the group chats and also in the chat yesterday. How are you feeling today, my man?
I'll calm down.
So you did send in that super chat saying, you know, I'm tired of hearing we should have won.
Yeah, well, I mean, what's that mean? I don't understand this. We lost. End of story. Because we deserve, because we can't defend, we can't take our chances at the end. I'm tired. That's oh my god, when I hear that. I went to YouTube, of course, and then I see titles, should have won. Oh, I just want to break something. God.
Did we do a good job maybe trying to understand what you meant by that? Which is, you know, it's kind of our own fault that we didn't win, right? It's not like, you know, we were unlucky or anything. Like, we have to take chances and we can't make the mistakes that we did. You know, it's our own fault we dropped points.
100%. I mean, football is about, you know, at the end of the day, putting the ball back in the net. If you can't do that, you're not going to win football matches.
Yeah.
And I heard, of course, people say if Solanke or Richie was there, we would have won. I mean, that's not 100% true either, because they were against Leicester and we couldn't win that either. So you can't take everything.
So what do you think the big issue is going forward then? Is it the caliber of player? Is it the instruction and the way Ange wants them to sort of attack and the areas he wants them to attack? What do you think is the problem going forward?
Well, for me, it is, you know, the quality of players, especially the finishing. I mean, Brendan Jones, I know he came on, but you know how I feel about him. And then you have Odegaard, who's just a young kid come on. You can't expect I mean, this is the problem. Odegaard is starting now. He should be backup, learning from a world-class winger.
Yeah.
Now he's starting, and we have to rely on him to finish and do all that. I feel sorry for him almost.
100%. Look, that was my concern when I done the Welcome to Tottenham video. You know, I heard that. I says we're pinning our hopes on a 19-year-old kid to come in and be, you know, a world-class player from the off. You know, and I thought, you know, it's not going to be that case. It's going to take time for him, you know, especially in terms of consistency in the end product. You know, yesterday he had some great chances, and you know, I don't think he hit the target with any of them. You know, it was really piss poor from him in the forward line. But at the end of the day, he's a 19-year-old kid, and you know that it's going to take time for that consistency to come, and that's where I feel sorry for him. Because back to Sam's point, and it's a point I've made over the transfer window as well, bringing in Timo Werner so early was an absolute mistake. You know, there was no other club in the world chasing him. You know, they could have just waited to the end of the window. If they couldn't find someone else, they could have then just pivoted and brought him back in on loan. But they went so early, it sort of almost ruined the transfer window for us, especially in terms of, you know, filling up non-homegrown spots and stuff like that. But you're right, you know, bringing in someone like him really puts pressure on someone like Odegaard to perform straight off the bat. And I do think it's unfair on the kid, but unfortunately, you know, he's going to have to grow up very, very quickly. What about defensively? You said we have issues defensively as well. I mean, what do you think them issues are? Again, is it system related? Is it personnel related? What's your thoughts?
Well, for me, it's system related because, again, we have some of the best defenders, I would say. I mean, all fit. I think Dragusin is also class. But for me, I think, you know, you could have Prime Maldini, Cafu, fucking Cannavaro, and Roberto Carlos, and we still, you know, they couldn't defend the system, in my opinion. The high line is tragic. It's actually tragic to see. One fucking pass, it all took to get through that. And Romero, I'm sorry, but you are the leader there. I don't see him as a leader, sadly. He's not shouting anything. He's just jogging, and of course, I've heard people saying he needs to be dropped. And I don't know where that's coming from. I still think he's absolutely
can't afford to drop him. We know to fit centre backs.
Yeah, exactly. Ben Davies back. Whoa! What the fuck?
Sadly, some people would prefer to see him in there.
Oh Jesus Christ! See, this is when you just need to just fucking slap people. But anyway, but Ange is you are the worst enemy to yourself, in my opinion. Okay. You're doing this to yourself. You need to learn you can change things from time to time. You don't need to go gung ho, blitzkrieg up there. It's insane to see. I mean, we know all the best managers in this world can change it. Pep Guardiola, the best manager of all time, does it. And now I see stubbornness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, you can play attacking. You can go attacking against teams. Of course, you can play this football against some teams. But not everyone.
Not targeted towards you, Sam. I don't know, man.
Don't. There's no targeting. It's just
just in general. Look, Sam. Believe me, there's more than you out there in the fan base. Even my dad has a bit of a soft spot for Ben Davies. So it's definitely not targeted at you at all, my man. So Daniel, it's fair to say then you're disappointed that you haven't really seen Ange Postecoglou make any sort of tactical tweaks defensively, because with Guardiola, in fairness, he comes in, he plays his system, but then when he gets new players, he sort of comes up with something a little bit different to keep other people guessing. You think that's what Ange Postecoglou now needs to start doing at Tottenham? Because in fairness, people say, he doesn't change things. He moved Kulu back into the middle at halftime after starting him up front. Moved Son out from the left to up front. So he did try to make some changes with what he had on the football. Made a change at halftime as well, didn't he? Of course, I think bringing on Brennan Johnson, taking off Papa Matasar. So he did try to affect the outcome of the game. It just didn't work.
Yeah, but I feel that just he changed personnel. It doesn't change tactics or anything. He just changes the players there.
Yeah.
And you know what? With Kulusevski, I feel sorry for him because every single week he has to change position. I mean, he played striker at the start there, midfield, right wing. I mean, what is he going to do if he's going to change all the time? And with what was going to say? Jesus Christ!
Losing your train of Fortnite, too much to get off your chest.
Yeah. With the midfielders, I mean, I believed we needed to change that. I mean, when we were on top, bringing Bentancur to assure that midfield. And then right after we conceded, then you change it.
Yeah. And that's been a common occurrence, by the way. Me and Jack have been sitting there screaming out for changes because you can see the inevitable happening, and it only really happens after they score. It's more reaction than being proactive.
Yeah, exactly. And do not get me wrong. I don't want Ange. I have no idea. I do not want Ange, to go because I don't know this. This does my head in either. Who the hell are we gonna get? Who else is there really? So we can get. I mean, probably who want to come in, but then not that. Yeah, he just needs to change things and learn. I think it can be great. And if he wants to win trophies, like he said this is his quote: "I win every second season."
Yeah. Well, that's probably where people are coming from. Then Daniel is that they feel like results need to start coming through then for Ange Postecoglou, right? In his second season, like first season was about developing the style of play. Second season is about starting to see the trophies come in or the results starting to come in. And at the moment, the results aren't really meeting up with the performances. Isn't that what's frustrating though? Is that you see Spurs playing well, but continuing to not see results kind of meet up with those good performances.
It's brilliant football at times. We play brilliantly 1-2, but then at the final third, just they loses their head.
Yeah,
it seems like Sonny as well. Sadly, I don't know why. I mean, he could have passed. I know Brennan Johnson not the most trustworthy, but you have to pass it there to him anyway. Doesn't matter who's in front.
Yeah. There was that moment where Sonny took it for himself and he didn't even then get it on target, or it got blocked or something like that, which is just pretty inexcusable. Like, he had Brendan Johnson, who would have been able to fire a shot off. Who's to say whether it would go in or not? But, you know, he would have had an easier chance than what Sonny did. Sonny took it for himself and ended up getting blocked by Dan Burn. I mean, that guy, Dan Burn, he must have had like 40 blocks in that game, but it was really frustrating to see that none of our wingers could actually challenge Nick Pope.
I mean, we made Dan Burn look like Maldini. I mean, it was amazing, to be fair to him, but that shouldn't happen.
Do you think the wingers need to be more, you know, like, as much as everyone said, oh, if we had a striker, we would have won that game. I hear that argument, Daniel, but at the same time, I think like a lot of the responsibility does have to fall on those wingers, because some of these chances should be easy for them, especially guys like Sonny, especially even an Odebear. I know Odebear's a young kid, but still, like, he had good chances to try to get a shot on target, and he just didn't.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need world-class finishers to finish some of those chances we had last night.
Should have buried them.
And also
fucking buried them. It's disappointing.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, yeah, that's what, you know, all the frustration. Also, for me now, I still would like to see now, it's never going to happen, but go to a back three for me.
Unfortunately, Daniel, we just don't. Look, I hear a lot of that and I see a lot of it. But how can we go to a back three when we only have 3 centre backs? Who's going to come in if we get an injury? He has to change the whole system yet again.
Yeah, that's true. But I don't know.
Yeah, you just want to see dramatic changes by Postecoglou. Going into the next game for the North London Derby, do you want to see him make any changes to the lineup? Is there a certain midfield you want to see, a certain attack you want to see?
I don't know. It's so hard. I just don't want to. The midfield. The thing is, Basuma as well. He could have, you know, he starts brilliantly and then just fades off the game. And Bendicor is also like, I don't know. I mean, it's hard. I struggle right now with this.
100%.
That's a hilarious comment from Artist. If it wasn't for Dan Burn, we would have lost 2-0 because he actually finished the chance for us. That's a hilarious comment.
That's true as well.
It is. It's actually that bad. It's true. You know, Brendan Johnson's one wasn't going in. Dan Burn had to put it in.
Yeah, it's weird.
It was the best finisher in the team for us, Dan Burn. Daniel,
maybe actually I would maybe chuck in with Archie Gray or something. You know.
What about Archie Gray? Put him in.
You know, start him maybe.
Where, right back or CDM? You know, we still don't know where his best position is.
It's got to be CDM. Yeah, it's got to be CDM. Just to see something different. He can try and, you know, get his starting place. Try and get.
One thing I would like to maybe see Ange do if he does think about a change is go to a 4-2-3-1, similar to what Pochettino had, and just have that stability with the 2 midfielders in there. One sort of goes and one sits in between the centre-backs and sort of creates that back three that maybe everybody wants. I think that would be his only solution if you know, if he were to change up, because I don't think he's going to drastically change, you know, too much. So I think that could be one thing he could look at, but also might give us a bit more defensive stability, or maybe make us less vulnerable, you know, to that one ball and stuff like that. But Daniel, really appreciate your time this evening, my man. Thank you very much. Seem a lot calmer today, which is good. You know, don't let Spurs, you know, ruin your health, my man.
No. I mean, it wasn't. If this was back in 2017, then this would really hurt. Then I mean, it would be angry for a long time. Now it kind of goes away 2 hours. Then everything is okay.
Has work been all right for you though? Everything going okay in Norway?
Things are going good.
Good man.
Thank you.
Big up, Daniel. Well, you enjoy your time, my man.
Enjoy your international break, sir.
Yeah, that's great.
Right. Yeah, have a good one.
Thank you so much.
Good call, Daniel. Good call.
Thank you.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Great to see that Daniel has calmed down a little bit from yesterday. I was worried about him yesterday. You know, he's really
like
angry,
like we all
are after games. You know, like we all are after games. And look, he wants to see Ange make a couple of changes. Let's wait and see if that happens. Big up, Daniel. But look, let's keep it moving. We've got 4 guests left. These will be the last 4, and then we will be calling it an evening. I believe it's Michael. Michael, you there?
Or it's Donovan. Sorry.
Oh, Donovan. Sorry, Donovan. Donovan, you there?
There he is.
Let's bring him on in his work van. How are you keeping, sir?
Good, guys. It's a long weekend. Just in the car doing some laundry. Gonna go for a hike in a minute here.
Nice.
What are you going to be thinking about on that hike?
Just quickly, I would feel a lot more comfortable if you pulled in. I don't want to be the reason, for if anything happens. Okay, perfect.
Good man.
Perfect.
Good man.
Good. Well, I mean, look, where do you want to start? Over yesterday, Donovan.
Yeah, typical Spurs guys. Like, so many variables you could just throw at them. Like, had a good weekend, played a good game of football. I was pumped on a vacation, ready to sleep in, and then Spurs go and do that. And of course, it's right before an international break, so it's something we all kind of gotta stew with and sit with. But I think Dermo said it pretty much earlier, and a lot of the people are kind of echoing the same kind of mindset of that it's a rebuild, and it's some of these processes are hard to take. And actually, guys, I'm anticipating the worst when it's like I was anticipating the worst where it's like it comes to our fan base being toxic and negative about what just happened. But I'm actually pleasantly surprised on how many people are actually coming out voicing their opinions, saying, "Hey, like we can't be firing another manager. Like getting rid of Ange is not the problem here. Like give the guy time." And there seems to be a lot more. I seems to hear a lot more of that than a negative. And I'm hoping that that's actually what the case is. And I mean, it's social media. Everybody can say what they want with a mask, but I just seem to be seeing online a lot more of, hey, give Ange time, like. And I think that just shows how we were playing. We could see that we were creating chances. We were dominating the ball. We could see that, like, we were just a couple chances away from winning that game 2 or 3-0, 2-3-1, I should say. So, yeah, I'm calm. I'm not too perturbed about it, to be honest.
So given Ange time, do you think it'll, eventually results will start going in his favor and stuff? Do you think he needs to make tweaks in order for that to happen?
Well, I keep looking at the lot down the road, and I don't want to, like I hate drawing parallels for that, but they've developed such a good blueprint on how to develop an English club in the modern era when it comes to dealing with the likes of Manchester City. And that's ultimately the last hurdle you're going to have to jump if you're going to win anything in this country, is beating Manchester City at some point. And they've developed it pretty well. Find a manager, find an ethos and a methodology you believe in, and back that to the hilt. And it took them a while to do it. Yeah. And now Arteta's there. It helped a lot though that Arteta did win that early FA Cup, right? And it did win that early silverware. So I don't think it's result based on games and having his success here at Tottenham. Like, for example, I heard you asking earlier, Dave, is his job at risk for the Arsenal game? I don't think it comes to just result. I think it's going to come to the end of the season. If we're not in a final this year, if we don't make a solid run in a cup, and if we don't show obvious signs of progression, then I think that's when questions need to be asked. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, we pay multi-million dollars to win games and win trophies, right? But fair. As for the season, I don't want to say it's a free hit, but if we lose games like we just did, I think the fans will be okay as long as we show progression at the end of the season. So.
Okay. Do you think the fans, it seems like after that game, though, fans are losing patience? I agree with you that there's also a huge portion that are saying, listen, we have to back this guy. We're only still a year and a half in or so into it, and there's still plenty of time left. But, there is kind of that feeling that fans are starting to expect results to happen a lot more often here, and results aren't technically going Postecoglou's way.
Yeah, but I mean, that comes down to like a couple lack of individual errors, I direct actually some of my frustration at Richarlison. Like I can't understand how that man is not available to play in that position, right? In that game. Like a man like that needs to come off the bench. He knows he lost the starting position to Dominic Solanke. He came out with a lot of chest this offseason saying, hey, I'm staying in England, I'm staying at Tottenham. Tottenham's my home. Part of me is starting to realize maybe he's just grateful that, hey, how I landed at a top 6 club at this part of my career is maybe it's one of the classic examples of falling upwards, because now he's solid. He's got himself a solid 100K paycheck or 70K paycheck coming in once a week, and I'm really hoping that's not the case. But in the games like that, you need a player like that on your wage books to come in and fill that void, because Kulusevski hid as much of a good player as he is, he hid once he was outmarked out of that game. We didn't have a targeted number 9. And having a target number 9 in that scenario totally changes kind of how Newcastle defend and how much space they leave for us in the final third. You can't advocate for Romero switching off like that. I mean, I think that shows the levels of his game where it's like that's what separates him from being the very best, and the conversations that have around him when it comes to being, is he the very best in the world? On his day, he's one of the best in the position, but you show that he's still got that naivety where you mentioned earlier, Dave, where the one line's going this way and he's stepping forward to set the offside trap. And Sam came on and said a big deal too. Like, he's a fullback, right? He gets it. Like, I'm a center back. When I yell at my line, like, I'm the one that's in charge there. Like, I'm the one that's responsible for that whole back line. Not only my goalkeeper. And that's where the confidence comes from in that back line. And a big part of it, I was gonna send you guys one of those match reactions, like a video, send it to the IrishHotspur there and send it. But as I'm recording my third take, but I'm just thinking to myself, what's the point? You know, like, let's just be patient. Let's just keep going forward. But one of my talking points I alluded to that was, I think the club it's helped and it's also hindered us, the emergence of the talent of Mickey Van de Ven. Having a starlet as Mickey Van de Ven, because players are becoming complacent. You know, I think for a split second there, I think Romero, we all agree that as soon as that ball gets in the back line, and as soon as you get beat on that back line, you bust your ass to get back there and you switch, and your instant reaction is take that guy down, get myself in between the goalie, or at least pull his jersey or something, so it kind of puts him off a little bit. I think in that split second, Romero's, because you get in the game mode and you're not really thinking, you're kind of in reactionary mode. I'm thinking he thinks he's still got Mickey beside him and I can bail him out and he can run in behind and he can kind of saunter back because it doesn't matter because Mickey Van de Ven's going to get there at this 32-kilometer-per-hour pace and everyone's going to cheer and it's going to be good again. So it's between Mickey not being in the game. It's between Dominic not being in the game. It's Pape Mate Sarr not being the same levels he was, the star boy. It's a little bit of here and there, but why Wilson Odebear is not heading that at the back post? You can't advocate for that, right? You can't advocate for Brendan Johnson taking a perfect first touch around Dan Burn and then skying into Rosette with his left, right? It just seemed that. Oh yeah, that chance at the end. Yeah. I know he did everything hard. He did all the hard work. That was a perfect touch. That was great and everything. And then just a boom. Forgot about that one. Yeah, don't get me wrong, guys. Like, he had a great impact off the bench, and that's what his role is, his impact player. But I mean, you can't beat a dead horse, man. Like, you can tell we're playing good football. You can tell we're the days of sitting back and absorbing and counting are gone, and we're dominating the game. It just, if we don't take our chances at this level, it's just going to come back and punish us, right? So. I said this earlier to people that even if we had a good striker in that game, that would have helped. But I think a lot of the responsibility still needs to be put on these wingers to put away these chances. At the end of the day, they are forwards and they should know how to put away some of these opportunities. And they're either making the wrong decision or they're just not executing what looks to be pretty easy chances for Premier League level forwards. And I think a lot of the responsibility does have to fall on Sonny, Odebear, Johnson, kind of that crew of players. Yes, I really good chances. I agree. Like, it's crazy how the game of football is. It's so subjective and everybody sees it through a different lens, right? That's the great thing about football. Do we have, like, just touching on Odegaard there because you brought it up, Jack. It's crazy how quickly the game of football changes. Within the span of 20 minutes, Odegaard went from the commentators and everybody around him saying he's the PSG wonder kid who rejected a contract at Paris Saint-Germain because he wanted to play first-team football and he deserved it, to the failed Burnley reject fodder who, you know what I mean? So it's like, just with one missed chance. And it's unforgiving and it's not right, but that's the way football is. I still have belief in the kid. Like, he's a young guy. You can tell he's got skill. You can tell he uses class, you know, like, he dribbles, he tackles man, he's unrelenting. That the finishing and the final third aspect will get there. But where I slightly disagree with that statement, Jack, is that when you have like the likes of Dominic Solanke, who makes a living off of elbows, shoulders, big barging runs in the box, you know, will always finish that run back post. Will make a nuisance out of the likes of Dan Burn. Because you saw after the 10 minutes, Dan Byrne, I'm just talking specifically Dan Byrne here because he's that man mountain that they had at the back there.
Mm.
Kulizeski's lucky that Cher wasn't playing too because they bullied the guy. They're pushing him from behind. They're letting him know that this space in the box is mine. Dominic Solanke over Charleston, one of them gets sent off in that scenario because they're not taking that. They're pushing him back. They're throwing elbows. And some of those early crosses in, there's one that reminds me where Sonny took his man on the wing, could have dropped his shoulder, sent it back post. Nobody was there.
Good point.
We have the likes of a Richarlison or a Solanke sliding in there, drawing their defenders out of their space. And when they bring that space in, maybe it takes a deflection and it's another. You never know. It's half a dozen of this, half another than another. But when you have a recognized center forward in there rather than someone who's shoestringed into that position, it's a big difference, man. It takes the game from a 7 to like an 8 or 9 out of 10.
One thing that also winds me up as well is it's clear with the amount of times they're flashing balls across that 6-yard box. It's what they're being told to do, right? You go and look at training videos, they work on it. But whenever the ball's on the right-hand side, yeah, okay, don't get me wrong. Son has to make more of a run, especially if he knows that's where the ball's being instructed to go. But what about the winger on the far side? Cutting in and getting on. That's old school what you're taught as a winger. When the ball's out on the right-hand side and someone's crossing it, you get in towards that back post, but no one does it. The only one I've seen do it yesterday was Timo Werner, and he missed that chance. But it wasn't happening on either side, and it's really pissing me off, that people aren't just following simple instructions, and that's just players cheating, not wanting to make that burst, not wanting to take that gamble, and it's really, really frustrating as well, 100%. But Donovan, great call, my man. Really appreciate your time, brother. Another calm head amongst the storm right now. Really appreciate it, and we'll let you go and enjoy your hike.
Thanks, lads. Yeah, it is what it is. Like the main thing here is just like success, right? And like I think we said the same thing last year too. Like a process, like any real change in life, like football, wanting to get a better job, wanting to improve your body, like et cetera, et cetera. Just like you have to put the time in, and you're gonna get knocked down way more than you get you get those victories, and that's what makes those victories so important, guys. So you got to stay patient, got to trust the process, and these guys need our supporting because until another transfer window, we're stuck with these guys until January, right? So until we can make improvements and go forward, we just got to keep going. And I'm a little bit apprehensive against Arsenal. I'm hoping that these players are saving some of it for Arsenal because you are right, Dave. Some of this stuff is elementary. Some of this stuff is you're banging your head against a wall over and over again. Like, when are these guys going to get it? But I'm hoping they understand the importance. And if sure or not, you have a leadership group that has to tell you that importance. That when your rivals come down the road, and the city of London, the football home of the world, you could argue that you need to win that game, and you need, if not win it, you got to go out there and make their life living hell. You can't roll over. So we have 2 weeks to ponder that. Hope you guys have a good international break. I'll catch you guys later, I guess. So
thanks, Donovan. Great call, man.
Just quickly before we let you go, Shawnee Maddox wants to know where you're out hiking.
There's a nice cliff here in BC where I live. It's called Enderby Cliffs. It's a good 7.5 to the summit and a 7.5 back. So it's 14 round. So I'm gonna try and jog up it and then kind of see if I can saunter back. If I get up there in 45 minutes, I'll be happy. So my season starts on the 29th. So I got a bit of time to go, and it's time to lock in now. So
you know what? It's absolutely great for the body. I was up there Saturday up in Wicklow doing one myself. It's absolutely fantastic, my man. It's great for the fitness. Even though I'm a big guy, I'm fitter than every other big guy around me. So it's great. Absolutely great. But Donovan, thank you very much, sir. Best of luck if you have any training or matches this week, and we'll speak to you again soon.
Thanks, lad. You're going to love it. I'm going to hit the buffet after too, so it'll be good.
Oh, lad. You're making me hungry. See you soon, lad.
Cheers.
Good call.
Bye-bye. Donovan hitting the buffet, I mean, looks, 1 hour and 51 minutes in before someone mentions food, but big up Donovan. Enjoy that buffet, sir. Hopefully you have a good one. We've also got this from D. Sinclair, and I think, the next 5 games are really, really important for Tottenham Hotspur and this project. Arsenal coming up, Brentford. We've struggled against them the last couple of years. We find it difficult. Man United, if we don't beat them, I mean, I'm going to lose the shit. They're absolutely awful. Brighton, we have severe trouble with them under, I think, didn't they slap us our place or their place last season? And then West Ham as well. So them next 5 games are a big period. Might even do a short on it. Thanks, Mr. Sinclair.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty level-headed comment from Sinclair, to be honest. I think even people who might be very doubtful of Ange, who don't want Ange anymore, I think that'd be a fair barometer to go by, or at least a fair marker. for sure.
Answers the question, I had earlier on, Jack, where it was, what did I say? How much patience do people show the project now that results aren't going the way we want it? So I think that's a fair one there from Mr. Sinclair, inspiring Dave Harris since 2024. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that, lad. We've got this from Drew Zilla. Sorry, my man, I didn't see that come in. Really appreciate that, Drew. He says, "Let's go." Let's go. That's a year in the books. Got more time than most managers get games. Big up, everyone. Come on, you Spurs.
He's been a
Come on,
member longer than
man.
managers have been at Spurs.
Wow.
We should say that as a joke more often for some of the longevity that you guys have been supporting us. We should use that as a joke more often. That you probably lasted, longer than the average Spurs manager will. And Druzilla, thanks for not, sacking us, by the stage of your longevity and your support for us. Thank you for all the support that, you've shown us, this community. I really, have been missing actually some of your takes on things. I know you're a busy guy right now. You got a lot going on, but we would like to have you, back on or send in a fan cam or anything like that, because Dave and I do really value your opinion. And also your man, Brennan Johnson, made a huge impact off of the bench in that last game. I still think, maybe like Donovan mentioned, he kind of wasted one or two chances, but I'd have to say that with the whole forward line. I think Sonny did, Odebear did, they all did. And Johnson made a very good impact off of the bench, and might see if he can do it again in the North London Derby. But really appreciate your support for us, Drew. I think you've been with us much longer than a year, but thanks for supporting us as long as you have.
No, big up, Drew. Absolute legend, my man. I'll check in with you this week as well, just making sure that you're keeping okay through these tough times, Drew. Big up. Good to see you. And I'll speak to you again during the week, my man. Absolute legend. Really appreciate that. 1 year. Absolutely insane. Hopefully we can make it 2 years, as long as I don't piss you off, Drew. So big yourself up, my man. Really appreciate it. But let's keep it moving. I believe the next guest we have on is the one and only Michael in the background. I believe it is. Let me just double check. Don't want to skip anybody.
You are correct this time, Dave.
Yep. Michael, let's bring him on. Big up, Big Mick. How are you, sir?
Big up, guys. How are you doing?
Good to see you, Michael.
I think you can tell by our faces, right? How are you keeping?
Yeah, you
seem a bit more chirpier than us.
Yeah, because even though Spurs lost yesterday, also my Speedway team yesterday played the second game of the playoff, and we got through to the semifinals. So I had a mixed bag, because I was really happy that the team managed. Because if you remember, I told you that our absolute best rider had a terrible crash driving in England actually. And honestly, I'm surprised he didn't break his spine or something stupid like that, because the crash was absolutely horrific. And all he got was a scratch on his ass. But unfortunately, the scratch on his ass they didn't allow him to ride a motorcycle. So, he had to take a break for 3 weeks, and the 3 weeks were the playoff. So, the fact that we got through without his help is absolutely amazing. I am stoked, and he will be back for the semifinals. So, suddenly there is a bit of hope in me. So yeah, I had a mixed Sunday, because Spurs lost, obviously, right? And this is what we will be talking about. But the Speedway team fixed the Sunday, right? So
very nice,
good,
very nice,
good. Well, look, at least Speedway is going your way. At least something in your life is going your way, Michael. But look, where do you sit on the whole Ange debate that's going on right now? Because I do see, just this is my own personal, from my own eyes, I do see a lot more people maybe coming out, question him a little bit more, maybe a lot more people maybe turning to the Ange outside. Is that the right move for this football club? What do you think?
I think I am definitely not in the Ange out camp or anything like that, right? That's also partially because I am burned with sacking managers constantly whenever they hit a first slump along the way. Right, as you know, I've started really supporting Spurs after the Champions League final, and all I've seen every single season was us sacking a manager at a certain point, and it never, unless it was a new manager bounce with Conte, it almost never boded well. It never gave us an uplift or anything, right? It was usually just a short fix that kind of went backwards immediately after that fixed manager got sacked, right? So the way I see it is I'm definitely not in the out camp, but as you know, in the back end of last season and even this season, I've mentioned plenty of times that I want Ange to to fix the mistakes, because I feel like there are certain like obvious mistakes in our game where I feel like a manager of his like experience and class should notice those mistakes and actually like counteract them. And I have to say, for example, and I don't know if you get the same like view during the games, but at least when I watched, a lot of like the camera work during corners was focused on our players actually man marking players. So like Son was marking Isaac, Romero was marking Ben, and they constantly like shown us man marking, which I actually liked, because we've been like pointing out that we are doing the zonal mark where we don't like, the players don't pick their players, they are just zonal marking. But in most cases, at least I felt like it basically meant that when there is like a dangerous player, like a Gabriel, for example, for Arsenal, if he changed position, then suddenly he could find himself 1v1 against like Maddison or someone, right? And then Maddison couldn't really mark Gabriel, right? Purely because of the size and strength, right? So I actually, go on there, go.
Just on that man marking, I don't know about you, Michael, but I find it's often mismatched. I mean, Romero's marking down Burn. Surely it makes sense for Dragusin to go and mark down Burn. Romero to go and mark someone like Isaac. Just pick up get your biggest players on the danger men. But when I do look at some of the marking, like you said, Sonny marking Isaac. I mean, what's that about? We all know that Sonny's game isn't tracking back and getting up in the air and clearing things, and Isaac's a huge danger.
Yeah, I'm honestly not sure. Because like those two players were the ones they focused on the most, so I remember those two pairings, right? I honestly don't remember who Dragusin was man marking, if he was, because like I've noticed that like 3 to 4 players were still forming a line in front of
Vicario, it's a hybrid.
And some of them were man marking, and I feel like Dragusin was part of that like line in front of Vicario. But yeah, I agree that maybe, some personal choices weren't the best, but I still like the fact that we actually man marked instead of just, doing this stupid 8 in a line and inshallah, and basically whatever happens, right? Because we got bent all over like again and again and again in the last season, right? So this is actually what I liked, right? And also, I will come to positives, because I feel like there are some positives that people are not focusing from this game, right? But I want to start with like the negative side first, right? I think a lot of people are focusing on the high line again because we got done over with it on the second goal, right? And yes, we still play a ridiculously high line, but actually this was like pretty much the only time that Newcastle exploited that high line during that game. This was like at least I feel like this was like the only chance that really came from one through ball and burning our whole attack. And yes, fair enough, we conceded, which is bad, right? But I don't think it would have been such a big talking point, if we actually converted our chances. And this is for me the biggest issue I have with this game. Like I don't understand how we can create 20 shooting opportunities, because we had like 20 or 21 shots, if my mind serves me correctly, 6 shots on target, right? And I seen a stat that only 2 of those were over 0.1 xg, which basically means we are creating a buttload of shit chances, right? That it's not only like a buttload of or shit chances, like, not shit, but shit is a wrong like word to use, but sorry, it's
clear-cut chances, basically.
We are basically creating one-on-ones or chances where it's up to a player to have a one-on-one with a keeper. I don't necessarily mean running through one-on-one, but just our intricate play in the penalty box, and we find ourselves with a shooting opportunity from like a good angle or whatever, right? We are by far, after 3 matches, the best team in terms of touches in the opposition box. I've seen us, we have something stupid like 170 touches in the opposition box in 3 matches, which is absolutely ridiculous, right? And all of those things like combined, and we still cannot score a goal unless Donovan puts it in his own net, right? I feel like there were plenty of opportunities in that game where, with a bit of more of like confidence and killer instinct, we put 2, 3, 4 past Newcastle. And honestly, even if we concede 2 at that point, like nobody's talking as much about the high line, right?
100%.
So this is more of a focus and more of a bad thing for me, the lack of finishing instead of the high line, right?
So you agree with Ange then, basically, because Ange sort of alluded that to in his game yesterday. He says we shouldn't even be talking about defense because if we took our chances, we put the game beyond them.
Yeah. Also, I have to mention, like, I'm not necessarily in the camp of like we scored 4, you scored 2, or whatever, because I feel like great defenses win new titles, right? I feel like you have to have a solid defense to have a chance at the title, right? But I think for the quality of our defense, I think this is something that can easily get us up there, right? I'm not saying challenging City, but or Arsenal or even Liverpool. Liverpool look brilliant, by the way, this season. Wow. I am absolutely amazed with Arne Slot, right? But I think we have enough quality to fight for 4th, 5th, right? It just depends on whether we actually finish chances. And this is my point. Like, we aren't finishing chances. And honestly, other than Son right now, I don't see someone who is actually a clinical killer in front of the goal. I'm not sure about Solanke, right? We've only seen 90 minutes from him. It was his debut. I am willing to give him more chances, right? But Johnson, Werner constantly prove, and Richarlison constantly prove that they keep missing simple chances, right?
Yeah.
Kulusevski, I have mixed feelings about Kulusevski, and Odobert is just a kid.
It was
right?
poor from him yesterday.
Yeah, and by the way, this is basically my point, right? And when I was like talking about us in the transfer market and the lack of incomings, this is part of. I know I didn't necessarily highlight the front line, but I think it could have been like fixed during the transfer window without spending shitloads of money, right? Chiesa is the perfect example for me, but there were other players who moved for not that much of money, right? But this is negatives for me, right? But I have to talk about positives because I don't want it to be like a hammering, right? So first of all, I have to remind people this was St. James's away. It's not an easy ground to play, right? I want to stress this. I feel like, if I remember correctly, from like top 10, I think only City and Liverpool won there last season, right? There was one odd scoreline with like Forest winning 3-1 or something, right? But it was just an odd game. Other than that, like Newcastle were extremely solid at home, and this is not an easy ground to play. And honestly, some of the pressing I've seen in the second half from us was absolutely magnificent.
Yeah.
I think this was the best pressing game under Ange, in my opinion, or the best pressing like 20 to 25 minute period that we had from beginning of the second half to like 65th, 70th minute. We didn't really let them out of their half. And whenever they tried to break, we constantly kept sweeping the ball. This was amazing for me, right? I actually really like that. And listen, the amount of turnovers that we got in the midfield and even in the attacking third, the fact that we didn't score goals from that is criminal for me. Yeah, it's like we should have put this game to bed with the quality and amount of chances that we could have created, right? So this is one big positive I want to say. The second one I already mentioned, which is man marking on corners. I really like that. And the third one was, I felt like I know he didn't have the best game, but I really liked Kulusevski in the middle, and I really like the fact that he's such a versatile player that we can plug him into those holes where we need him to play, and we can change formations, we can change players, and this basically throws like a bit of a curveball, right? The opposition might not be like well prepared to suddenly changing from a wing to a center forward position and all that stuff, right? So this is what I really liked, and I feel like when Solanke comes back from an injury, I really want to see us play with Solanke, right? Because I want him creating space for the rest of the team, and I want him occupying center backs, because I feel like this is a bit of a thing that we lack without the center forward. So I really like, but basically I want to say that of course I am disappointed with the loss, and I was absolutely furious when we kept missing chances. And we have a saying in Polish that translates to like missed opportunities come back to haunt you, right?
Mm.
I think there is something similar in English, right?
Yep.
So yeah, that's exactly what I said during that game. I was watching it with my girlfriend, right? And around like 65th minute, when we kept missing chances, I told her, you will see they will nick 2-1 with like the most stupid content that you can possibly imagine, and we'll lose this game. And I kid you not, like 3 minutes later, we conceded the goal, and it was such an obvious like thing to see, right?
Yeah.
So sorry, I know I'm monologuing
No,
again.
I get it. I get it.
I really need to like get this off my chest, because you asked about the doubts that start appearing in the fan base, right?
Yeah.
I honestly kind of understand.
Because, I understand it too.
Because like some of the fans are frustrated with the window, and so am I. I felt like we could have done more, and I think because of the shortcomings of the window, we are not finishing chances like we should, right? I feel like we could have strengthened more in the front line, and actually we could be like a more clinical, lethal attack, right? But we aren't, or at least we aren't yet without Solanke, right? I give the benefit of the doubt, right?
Yeah.
And it looks like we are still getting done with the same like one through ball through the entire pitch to a winger, and basically wingers find themselves 2v1 against the goalkeeper, right? And I get the point why it's frustrating, right? And this like patch of games that one of your commenters highlighted, right? You brought up the comment of like Arsenal, Brentford, United, Brighton, and West Ham, and throw in Coventry in there. I think this is like the biggest, most important test for Ange, right? And I want to especially stress on that Coventry game, in my opinion, because I feel like if like, please touch wood, no, but if we go out of the Carabao Cup, I think people will lose their shit, right? Because Ange has to understand what kind of club he manages, and how deprived of like any success we are as a fan base.
Do you know what, though, on that, Michael? I think there's a massive misperception where people go, he wanted to go out of the cup last year. He didn't. He went after every cup at Celtic, and he actually stayed the second year to win the cup he didn't win. So, I think, people have a misperception when it comes to Ange Postecoglou there, where they're like, he's happy to sacrifice a cup. No, he ain't. Not when he's been at other clubs. And like I said, he stayed at Celtic to go and win the cup he didn't win the season before. That's what motivated him to stay on longer. He actually had an opportunity to go to Brighton before that, and he chose to stay at Celtic to win that cup. So, if it doesn't go right, I don't want to hear anybody go, he's done that on purpose. Like they said last year, he done that on purpose. He doesn't do it on purpose. Just at Celtic, he was able to rely on his squad. But Michael, big yourself up, my man. I appreciate this evening. I do. Honestly, thank you for the positivities, because, I needed to hear some today. It was really appreciated. And look, great call. I fully understand what you're saying, my man. Great call.
Yeah, basically what I want to say, it wasn't as bad as many make it out to be. And I understand why people are frustrated. I have to stress it again. I understand why people are furious with the way we lost that game. But I feel like there are some positives to be drawn out of it. And as you said, David, if you fucking lose to United, I'm going to lose my shit. They are so trash. I know this will probably, saying that what I just did will probably come back to bite me, right? But they are so trash.
Let's just hope Ten Hag's still on the job by then.
Yeah. That's the big one. So we need to get on, because I seen Ten Hag out trending last night. So we need to get onto Twitter and Ten Hag in and pretend we're United fans and argue with them. Michael, great call, my man. Thank you very much, and we'll be in contact. I'll speak to you soon.
Cheers, guys.
Good man, Michael.
Have a good one, my man. Bye. Have a good evening. Oh, absolute great call from Michael. Look, good to hear some of the positives as well from the game. Absolutely love that from Big Mick. We've got the Alaskan Hotspur that was in here. Member for 9 months, says have to give Ange as much time as needed. Come on, you Spurs. Look, I think we should give Ange time personally. I am Ange in. However, next 5 games, if results ain't going the way they are, I'm not stupid enough to know in football you're out the door. Unfortunately, unless you have an owner that's willing to sit there like the Arsenal owners did and say, look, don't care what the fan base is saying, this guy is staying in the job. I think ultimately Postecoglou will end up carrying the can. But that was my whole concern over the transfer window. I think many people maybe got me mixed up a bit, where I was like, look, I think this caliber of signing, I'm not sure about. I think it's going to come back to haunt me. And people saying, Dave, you're being negative, blah, 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 blah. But I understand an Ange Postecoglou's system, and in the Premier League, quality matters. I think we were maybe under illusion every player we were bringing in he'd be a good squad player, but we almost forgot about the starting 11. And right now, what we're seeing is things coming back to haunt us that maybe we didn't do in the transfer market. Not having a backup to Destiny Udogie or not Destiny Udogie, Van de Ven coming back to haunt us like it did. It's all well and good people going to me, Dragusin. Dragison's a right-footed centre-back, and the reason why Postecoglou put him on the right yesterday is because he can't play on the left-hand side. Maybe not doing enough in the forward area, like I said, in terms of bringing in quality. Already coming back to haunt us. We've already lost 4 points, 4 points because of it. So, quality matters, and unfortunately, I think Postecoglou's brunting the blame. Well, I think a lot of the blame should go to the owners for not really backing him 100% this window. They knew what they had to do. It was one of the easiest windows they had in years. 4 or 5 players of the right quality coming in here to really push this on. And unfortunately, what we haven't done is already coming back to bite us. Absolute madness, pissing me off. Anyway, big up the Alaskan Hotspur. I'm behind Ange, but I do need him to start winning games to alleviate the pressure on himself, my man. Big up for one of the greatest places on our absolute legend. Guys, we are down to the last 2 guests of the evening. There is Sean, there is Paul. Now, just quickly, I know Paul was in here way before Sean, and he did say after 9 o'clock. It's now 21:16. Paul, are you happy to let Sean go ahead of you, or do you want to come in now?
I think Paul was reserved for the last position, and it is 15 minutes after, but put it in the...
Let Sean go. Grand job. Grand job. Let's bring in Shawnee, boy. Shawnee, how are you, sir? I wasn't trying to skip you there. It's just Paul was in from the very beginning, so I just and he said after 9 o'clock, so I just wanted to make sure he was all right with letting you go ahead, my man. But how are you keeping, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing well. And again, in terms of that, I don't care. Again, if I go last and I close out the show, and every once in a while, it's fun taking on that job. So I can see Paul being like, no, I want to be the closer.
Well, hopefully you can finish chances and finish off shows better than Spurs can, Sean.
I mean, I did score a few goals in my last soccer game I was playing up top, both off of set pieces. Maybe I'll go in, I'll coach the set pieces at Spurs for a little bit.
Good man.
Teach him something about getting to that front post.
There you go. There you go. Although, back post as well is needed.
I mean, to be fair, offensively, at least on like the corners, other than sometimes screwing up the delivery a little bit, I actually think that we play pretty good balls. Like, again, we've seen Romero and Dragusin sometimes get on the end of them. It's really just not always being as clinical as we can. And maybe sometimes you're trying to find that mismatch defensively. It feels like the guys that are good offensively on corners forget what a corner kick is, because essentially they don't do the exact opposite of what they should be doing on offense. Like on offense, you see Romero goes in there, he tries to lose his man, he tries to find a mismatch size-wise. On offense or on defense, he's like, son, go mark Isak, even though he's a foot taller than you. And their best aerial threat. Like, again, I think you were talking about, like, why wasn't Dan Burn being marked by Dragusin, one of the best aerial defenders and tallest guy on our team? And again, I think that's where why we're so bad at some of these set pieces is because clearly they're not spending enough time at practice to really talk about, okay, this is how we're defending them and this is what we need to be doing. Again, if you see other teams, there's a lot more talking. They look a lot more organized. They're looking at, okay, this is the threatening guy, mark him. Again, if you mark the threatening guy and, somehow they get like another like guy that wins a header or like a brilliant overhead kick or something, and fair on them. But if you don't at least make it difficult, what are we doing at that point?
Yeah.
And again, I think
no, go on.
I was just gonna say, I think that comes down to just our whole defense organizationally. Nobody is taking charge. Either nobody is willing to lead, or you got too many people giving different instructions. But kind of like how up top we don't have a central focus. There's no one centrally focusing that defense. I used to play goalkeeper a lot growing up. Again, sometimes I had a defender that was very like a center back that was kind of good at organizing things. If I didn't have that, I would personally be like, you mark him, because again, you're standing there. You should be able to very easily see, hey, why is nobody marking Isak? So the fact that Vicario and Romero, between the two of them, have not figured out how to get that marking going is concerning. Again, you're top level professionals. Someone needs to go in there.
Who do you put that down to, though, Sean? Because you do make a great point there, but who's responsible for that? Is that the manager? Is that the coaching staff during the week? Is that, the individual players on themselves? No one really taking on that role. I mean, who's responsible for it, in your opinion?
I mean, everyone is responsible. And again, part of it goes down to, again, if you're on that team and you see that not happening, at some point you have to sit there and be like, hey, this is unreasonable. You're in charge. You get this done. I mean, it always starts at the top with Ange. He's the coach. If he sees that this isn't happening, at no point can he sit there and be like, oh, let them figure it out. He has to go in and be like, you're adults. Clearly, you haven't sorted this out on your own. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to put you in charge and you sort this out. You give the instructions.
Do you not think he's already done that, though, by making Romero, the head of the leadership of the back line? Does he need to change it? Does he need to pull Romero in?
Again, if he's given that instruction and Romero isn't doing that, then you tell Vicario, you're in charge now of sorting out that back line. But again, he's the manager. And again, at some point, if you give Romero that instruction and he doesn't listen to you, you go to the bench, you say, Dragusin, you're playing center back now. Romero, you're going to go and sit on this bench until you follow instructions. Again, he is the manager. He has to let the players know he is in charge to a degree because his job is the one that's on the line if they don't follow those instructions. So Ange has to do everything in his power to make sure those instructions are followed. And again, very quickly, if Romero was the person that Ange wants to do that, and Romero doesn't do that, and he benches Romero will figure out, hey, I want to play. I better do this. Again, I don't think it's that hard if you're actively trying to address it.
And you know what? I think that's one of the biggest problems there at Postecoglou. And I've mentioned this a few times, and we'll take Al's super chat in with this. He says, big up, first of all, Al. Hopefully you're keeping well, my man. It'd be nice to have you back on here someday coming on. It'd be nice, Al, to get in touch. He says, love to the Irish Hotspur. Much love to you. Everyone go over and check out his channel, Team Tottenham Go. He says, do you think Ange should change tactics when his available players change, or is one style of play the answer regardless? Just quickly, one thing I will say is you do see a lot of managers now sticking to their philosophy. Some of them are open to maybe tweaking it here and there in order to get the best out of what they've got. But, people that are thinking that Ange is going to, go defensively, it's just not going to happen. Most managers now, because it's such a short time frame, and they're all head coaches now rather than actually managers, by the way, which means a lot of them have zero input on transfers, everything else. They're just there to get the best out of the squad. I think you're going to see more and more managers be more stubborn, to stick to their philosophy and their style of play, because as soon as things go wrong, they're out of the door, with very little grace. So, I don't think you will see him. And I'd argue sometimes once you start seeing a manager make drastic changes, it signals the end, and it also signals that players have lost belief in what he's originally asking them to do. Second of all, where we come full circle and back to Sean's point is, and I've said this plenty of times, Ange Postecoglou does himself no favors by not dropping players who makes mistakes. He has a lot of faith in certain individuals, but he won't drop players. For instance, he made the change for Brennan Johnson yesterday, but how long did it take him to get there? Romero now has cost us how many points? As soon as Van de Ven's available, he needs to be put to the bench to learn a lesson. Same with other players. He doesn't really drop players. He shows too much faith. Even James Maddison, how much faith did he show in him last season when he's not producing the goods? And I think that allows complacency. That allows players to be at it one day, not at it the next week, if there's no repercussions for it. And I think one thing Ange Postecoglou needs to start doing is dropping them. And at the end of the day, I think it'd be wise for him to do it. And the reason why I say that is because when things get tough, we know the Spurs dressing room, okay, it's changed to a degree. They'll throw the manager under the bus like a hot snot. Most players do nowadays. So it's up to Ange Postecoglou to stamp some authority in there by dropping certain individuals and not allowing that complacency to creep in. Because once you do, if you don't get a hold of it very quickly, it spirals and he'll be managing somewhere else. So I would say that's one area I think he needs to work on, is be a bit more ruthless with some of the players he's got.
Yeah, no, again, I entirely agree with you. Again, what he has control over is which players he puts into the team, who's starting, who's on the bench, who's on the reserve squad. And again, we're clearly seeing that at times he changes a little bit of that. And again, I don't think he has to radically change his style. I don't think his style has necessarily been the main problem. I think it's been a lack of performances by certain effort by certain players on the pitch in certain games and positions. And again, I think he's been a little unlucky in terms of the way the injuries are piling up in certain positions. Not having a striker is not ideal. I do think that Kulu didn't work out as striker. I think some people, including you, were a little more positive on the idea of Kulu as a striker. Again, my main problem is I think it's Kulu similar to Son in that he wants to drop deep, so he kind of vacates that space. But again, that doesn't work unless like a Madison or someone occupies that space that's being vacated if he's going to drop deep. And I think that was part of the issue at times was, we could get mad a little bit at some of the wingers for not finding like a pass, but there were a lot of times where there wasn't anyone in the box to aim for. And again, I think the person having the right personnel will definitely help there. But at the same time, I also think that Ange isn't using all of his available options as much. Again, I think Werner has come in as a sub a few times. He's honestly underwhelmed every time he's come off the bench. At a certain point, you got to say, Werner, go hang out with the reserves.
How is he on $185K a week? How is he swindled that? I don't understand it. That's robbery.
Yeah, no, again, I think the more I see him play, the more frustrated I am at that. Again, it's taking up wages that probably could have been used to improve. You could have brought a much better player in on loan. So I think that was a big mistake by the transfers. I don't know if Ange asked for that or the club decided that, but Ange still has the option to bench him and go play Mikey Moore. Again, Ange's job is going to be on the line, whether he plays Timo or doesn't play some of these players. So he has to go and just figure out, okay, I'm going to put the players in that I trust to get these results, because if we don't get the results, I'm going to get sacked, regardless of whether I'm playing the players that the club wants me to play because they paid a bunch of money for them. And again, that's been a little bit of the frustration, is we're not seeing him use any of those young players. Again, it's 3 games into the season, but again, some of these other players have been very underwhelming, and the youth players were the best players in preseason.
Yeah.
So at a certain point, if the players available aren't performing, I want to see Ange go and say, hey, you're not doing it. I'm going to try something else, because we need to win games, score goals, if I'm going to keep my job.
I would even make the case that a manager buys himself more time sometimes by using younger players, because then people would have a bit more sympathy for, them having good games or bad games. Whereas, like you say, with a guy like Timo Werner, who's on $185K a week, people aren't going to have that sort of patience and aren't going to give him that grace.
Yeah, no. Again, don't think we have as strong a squad as we can. But at this point, the transfer window's over. As much as you would like a better squad, we have what we have. So now we have to get a better way, get more out of the current squad. In terms of Ange, I feel like I've been a little bit frustrated with some of the timing of his subs, and that I felt like he hasn't fully improved on that from last season. I will give him credit at 45. He recognized the front three wasn't working, and he made that change, which I think was the right call for the game. As Kulu was better, deeper, because he essentially we had a presence, or at least more of a presence in that box, and we had a period of being very threatening. But again, I think he's got a lot to improve.
Yeah,
and I'm hoping that we see that a little bit more. I don't think he got the initial personnel correct, but again, as long as he doesn't then put Kulu back up top next game, if the two strikers aren't available, I won't be as concerned, essentially, as long as we're not repeating mistakes.
Yeah.
But and again, I think there was a lot of people that were going Ange out, and again, I can understand the frustration. I'm not even close to Ange out.
Yeah,
but I have some concerns that I think would move toward Ange out at the end of the season if they aren't actually being addressed. And part of that is his substitution and just kind of the results and how I don't think he's getting the most out of some of our players. But,
so like to clarify on that, you kind of feel like what Dave is saying by the end of the season, or I think someone else had said it, by the end of the season, if you don't see significant signs of improvement and also maybe a deep trophy sort of run, or at least, some sort of cup run, that's when you kind of would start to maybe think that time's up.
You need to see that this rebuild is progressing.
Yeah.
And again, last season we saw signs of progress, and it's a rebuild. So I'm not demanding that he wins a trophy immediately. If we can see that the project is going somewhere. And again, honestly, even if we get to the end of the season and it doesn't look like he's the best man for the job, if the club then goes and they bring in another attacking manager who's suited to using the squad, and then we're still in a better position, as we have done a lot of work getting rid of the dead wood and putting together essentially at least the pieces to build a foundation of a squad that can win. And so again, regardless of that, I think that'll have been a success, and Ange has been involved in that to some degree. So again, it's about even if it's not the same manager, you need to continue building the squad.
Yeah.
Again, we bring in a defensive manager who can't use any of these players, then we're back to where we were when we were changing the managers and the style, and none of the players suited a system, and you had to spend another 200 million, and another 200 million.
Another complete project. You're absolutely spot on.
You need that cohesion, even if it's not the same manager. You need a manager that suits the players and the attacking football that the club is clearly moving toward. But again, I think Ange out is too early. Again, 3 games into the season, there aren't really any great managers that were taking a break and are unattached. So again, if you fire Ange out, then Mason comes in. Mason's not going to get more out of the squad than Ange is getting.
Look,
so
a question. Even if you want to go another attacking manager, they're going to get any better out of the 4 players? I don't think so. I still think they're going to make the same mistakes. I think it's just going to have to be patience and natural sort of, progression with some of these guys. But look, let's wait and see. But I think you make a good message there that we can't afford to go back to a defensive manager. You have to keep, like Brighton are doing, keep employing the same sort of manager, the same sort of ideals to a certain degree. Absolutely spot on. Shawnee, big yourself up, my man. Really appreciate the call. Really appreciate your time waiting in the background as well, my man. And who have you got in fantasy this week before we let you go?
This week is Tyler, which should be a fun matchup. Again, it's kind of the week. The next week I get Phil Coy's, and so again, if I can win this one, I get my chance for a shot
battle-
at top spot, but
The Battle of the
again,
Americans this weekend.
Yeah.
I
Take
mean,
it easy
at
on
this
Edward, though,
point,
Sean. Be nice to him this week after you gave him that walloping. Be nice to him.
hey, I was really nice, except maybe when I posted that video of Raygun in the group chat. Although to be fair, I had spent 2.5 hours watching her breakdancing at the Olympics, and it had cheered me up severely. I was
Shogun or whatever it's called. Yeah.
So
Raygun. That's it. I know.
yeah,
I know you're.
it's just so ridiculous that had happened. It was really distracting and like a fun way to cheer myself up.
Good man.
Was not meaning that as a jab at the Aussies.
No, 100%.
But yeah, no. Again, I think it's too early to really start panicking. It's really just more of their concerns that I want to kind of keep an eye on throughout the season. And again, I don't think Ange is an idiot. I'm sure he can see a lot of the same things that we're unhappy with. So it's really just whether or not he can do anything to improve on those.
Yeah.
So again, I think at this point we give him some time and we see what happens, and then we reassess at the end of the season when there's going to be better managers that are actually available, because they might be willing to leave their club. Clubs might be willing to let managers go at the end of a season. No one's doing that 4 games out.
No, 100%. 100%. Look, I think it's far too early to be sacking a manager. I will say the pressure's on. I'm not delusional to that. Pressure's on, but it's far too early to be knee jerk. And look, if we were getting smashed every game and we were playing awful football, I can understand it. But we're not at that drastic measure yet. Hopefully, anyway. If Daniel is listening, which he's probably not. But Shawnee, big yourself up, my man, and I really appreciate the time.
Yeah, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. Great call, Sean.
Great call. Great message from Sean as well, by the way. Absolutely love that. And that's something that me and Jack have been on about as well. If we're going to be using this scouting model, the way Brighton and Brentford use it, you got to continue with the same sort of philosophy. But Jack, go ahead.
No, I completely agree with that, actually. I think even though I am also very far away from sacking Ange, I do feel like that Spurs still have to continue down the same pathway of identifying, a similar manager, if that even has to come to it. They can't just abandon this project and then go back to an Antonio Conte style manager, after that. Then that would just be nonsensical. And I just want to say, great call from Sean. And thank you to Alan Rakdos Madness for the support earlier. And hopefully you're enjoying. He's having barbecue back ribs, Dave, and then he's doing hot dogs and hamburgers on the Labor Day weekend by the poolside. It's probably a little too hot over there in California than it is for you, but I bet you'd be enjoying that time with Alan. I actually wish I could be there alongside him right now, taking my mind off the Spurs and enjoying a bit of Labor Day like that. Sounds lovely.
Hopefully some onions on the hot dogs and the burgers as well. That'd be nice. Caramelized if you want to go. I think Al's that sort of guy. He'd probably caramelize them. Big up, Al. Absolute legend. Labor Day today, did you say?
Yeah, it's a bank holiday weekend.
Why didn't you just tell me? You could have sat off this evening. I would have done the fan show, you madman. You didn't even tell me.
Well, it's a nice, easy fan show. They've done the heavy lifting today, Dave. Like we said to each other beforehand, they've done all the heavy lifting. We didn't have to do much. We just get to sit. We finally get to shut up.
All you had to do was tell me it was Labor Day, Lange. It's all you had to do. But look, we'll speak to Paul and then we'll let Jack go and enjoy, what's left of the celebrations out there. Paul, you're on mute before you start speaking, my man. How are you keeping, sir? Oh, can't hear you.
Maybe now there's some. Yeah, there you go. Oh. Speak again, Paul. Try that again. Press that button again.
No.
Press that button again. Turned it. Try now. No, I don't hear anything still.
Is it Bluetooth, I presume? Just try disconnect, reconnect it. I'll give you a minute there. I'll take you off the screen. I'll give you 1 minute, lad. Just try disconnect it, connect it if it's Bluetooth. We'll give Paul there another minute. I do want to hear what he has to say. But yeah, Labor Day. So what goes on at Labor Day, Jack?
Just kind of the signal to the end of the summer, really. I think for a lot of Americans, you just get to have, barbecue like Alan is doing, just sort of get to spend time, around family or friends and just sort of have a good time, doing whatever you may please. And I think for a lot of people, it's just sort of the sign of the end of the summer, kind of the beginning of the fall. Maybe for someone like Alan, who's in California, it's kind of like summer weather pretty much all year round. You don't really get to see too many changes in the seasons. Whereas over here in Seattle, I'll be honest, I'm kind of regretting, seeing the turn of the August and, into September, because this is when it starts getting a bit colder. Sun is going down a bit earlier. And we are at least maybe not that quickly, but eventually we're reaching the darkness and the rain period, which lasts for a very long time over here.
I thought you'd absolutely love, turning into, coming into winter or whatever it is, whatever month I call it. I just have 2 months, summer and winter. I don't care about the others. But, I thought you'd like it coming into that sort of, temperature. That's what Seattle's all about for me when I see it on movies.
Yeah, I think you would enjoy the weather here more than I do.
Yeah.
Sean Maddox saying it's a celebration of workers' rights and labor's unions, but usually the final holiday before the schools start. That's what I also remember it as. Why I never... I like Labor Day weekend, but I remember as a kid dreading it because it was the sign of, school also was returning. The summer break was all over. So definitely Sean is right in that regard. See if Paul can join us again.
Yeah, just keep it going for another minute. Just make sure he's not looking for the link again to get back on. Maybe we'll give him another minute or so. Yeah. We'll give him another minute if he doesn't. Here he is. Hello.
Hey, mate. That working now?
There we are.
Great.
There we are. Just a quick reset on the Bluetooth, Paul. How are you keeping?
I'm good, guys. You?
Good to have you.
Yeah, we're all right. I think we'll be better once we've had a couple of days off to sort of recoup, regather our thoughts and stuff, because we've had so much different things to think about over the last week. I think once we can sit back, really have time to process it, I think might be a little bit happier, I would hope. But look, where do you start? Where do you start on the whole criticism around Ange Postecoglou right now? Where are you at with it?
I just don't get it. And I've seen this for ever since Poch. It's been, team doesn't play well, sack the manager, sack the manager, sack the manager, sack the manager. It's like it's like a record that you keep playing over and over again. And to me, when are we actually going to start blaming the players that can do it one week, but then they can't do it the next week? When are we going to start blaming them for not being consistent?
So you're blaming
That's
the players
my biggest thing.
Up 1 week and down here the next week, then no consistency.
Well, yeah, I said it last week. Yeah, I said it last week with the Everton game. I went, fantastic. We played really well. We had a good game. Can they do it in the next game? Well, we played well, but we couldn't finish our dinner again. So again, it's like, where's that consistency? Where's that hunger they saw against Everton, where they were clinical, but against Newcastle, they couldn't do it. And people keep saying, what clear-cut chances did we have? Brennan Johnson from 6 yards, Odebert at the back post.
Yeah,
there's just two off the top of my head. It's
does Ange Postecoglou allow the inconsistency though? Because look, we all have criticism of certain players not performing, but even go back to last season towards the back end of the season and that when Maddison came back from injury, he just keeps putting them out there. There's no trying and there's no putting them to the bench, bringing someone else in to see what they can do. So does Ange Postecoglou actually allow the inconsistency of the players to creep in?
I think he does to a degree, and I think last season he was very limited in what he could do. He brought Maddison in, who was going to come in and replace him. Who was there to play that creative role, which is why we bought him in the first place. And then this year we've got Bergville. I think he brought him on a bit too late, to be honest.
Yeah.
In that game, and I think I think it was about the 80th minute he made those substitutions after changing Johnson at half time. I thought, he's changed Johnson at half time. That basically we kept up our pressing and we were playing. We just couldn't finish. No matter what they did, it wouldn't go in. And Daniel Burns, that guy just kept popping up. No matter where we were in that 18-yard box, he was there. Yeah. Whether it was on the wings, in the centre, anywhere. But it's one of them. It was hard to say we played well, and I hate seeing us lose when we play well. But again, it's the same thing. We're getting punished for not being clinical enough. And if you it's like Harry Kane. Everyone says, but when he was there, he would have finished one or two of them quite easily. He'd have been in that position, and Son playing centre forward. that's not his natural position. So he's not going to run onto those balls. He's not going to automatically assume that box is going to whip past on the 6-yard box. He's expecting Johnson to cut it back, and it's hard. There's no communication between that front three at all. And we saw that the same as last season towards the end. They get into the final third and they all look lost. They don't know what to do or where to go or thing. And they just keep tippy-tapping it around the box. And that second goal from Newcastle, that's what happened. They were tippy-tappy and it got intercepted. Linton saw the through ball and it was gone. And we were on the back foot.
Just on that, Paul, let me ask you, because that's something that was accused of Tottenham last season. I remember one of the journalists asked Ange Postecoglou, is he instructing these players to shoot? And he was saying yes. But if the same thing is still continuing, is that down to instructions in the way Ange is asking the player, or is that down to individual players maybe not having the confidence or just not having the skill set to execute it?
I think it's the confidence and the skill set in more than anything else, because the likes of Porro and stuff try and bang him in from outside the box. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But we're not even getting shots on target.
Yeah.
That's my biggest problem. They can shoot outside the box, they can shoot all they want from inside the box, but half the time they go wide over the bar, and it's like, well, why are they not at least hitting the target? We saw him hit the target 6 times against Newcastle. Pope had 6 good saves, to be fair. 2 of them he pulled off were at full stretch and stuff, but we weren't doing that enough. And what got me, I think Newcastle went on to 3 yellows around the 50th, 55 minutes. Why didn't we force them? Why were we not trying to force them to make that last ditch tackle? Why weren't we running at them, to get that sending off, which would have freed up the space, because Newcastle parked the bus, which I didn't expect them to do at home. Even their fans were getting annoyed with them at one point. You could hear it. The crowd was quiet for about 30, 35 minutes. You heard nothing from them, and all you could hear was like thinking. But the minute they broke away and scored, that was it. That ground just come to life. So it was lost their opportunity. But again, it's, as I've said it for years, all we do is we can play really good football, but we've never ever been a team to kill teams off. And I think that was our biggest problem last season. We weren't killing teams off, and we've started again this season not killing them off. And we need we need an experienced winger. We haven't got one apart from Son, and that's one of our biggest problems.
That's kind of why Dave and I wanted someone like an Eze, even though people kept saying, oh, he's not really a left winger or right winger. I think the big issue for me, why I liked Eze, is because he makes good decisions and he's very composed in these sort of situations where you find him in the final third and he makes the right pass, or he makes, the right touch to get past his man, or he just buries the chance when it's given to him. And it just doesn't feel like the wingers are really doing their part for me, Paul, where they find themselves in excellent positions that, again, I'd use Harvey Barnes as like an example. Pretty, good Premier League winger, but he's kind of like the barometer of like a decent Premier League winger. He's not amazing, he's not incredible, but he is good. And he buries that chance, it's just one chance for him and he buries it. And in the case of our wingers, it's like we need 30 chances in order for them to put it in the back of the net. And they still need Dan Burns' help in order to put it in, for them. It's just that crazy.
That's what I mean. And that's what disappointed me about the transfer window. We needed that experience. Yeah, great. We've got Archie Gray. We've got all these 18, 19-year-old players. But in those situations against Newcastle at St James's Park, you need that experienced head. You need that somebody who's going to be there, calm everything down, get the balls into the box, make the right decisions. And all of a sudden, you've got a different game on your hands. And that's where I think we've missed out. We didn't get the winger. Well, we did. We got Werner, but that's not for me. I didn't understand that one. I was happy to see him go at the last game of the season, and he popped back 2 weeks later, and I was like, "What's going on here?" But we haven't got that experienced winner.
Game of the season, didn't we? We let him go about a month before the season ended.
Yeah. So I just don't get why we brought him back, especially when he was injured at the time. Yeah. Because he left us injured. So I never got that one.
Back, right? No fee attached to it. Cheap deal.
Yeah. And it's But again, this is typical Tottenham. Where was that experienced player we all needed? Even if it was that one, even if it was just Eze, and we brought in the youngsters, people would be a lot happier with the window. But I'm not Yes, we've got good players and we did well with the outgoings, but where's that experience in the team for when we come up against Newcastle's at St James's Park, to find those through balls, find that little piece of hidden magic. There's no one in our team at the minute that's producing, that single bit of magic to find a goal. And I've never seen a Spurs team without one, to be honest. I remember the likes of Ginola. We could sit there, some days he'd sit there for 89 minutes and not do anything. And then he'd just pop up in that final minute of brilliance, and it's in the back of the net. It changes games. We haven't got those game-changing players, and that's what I was hoping for.
He's the only one we have in the team.
He's the only one we have.
He doesn't do it. We brought in Johnson to do it. He doesn't do it. We brought in Werner to do it. He doesn't do it. Son's the only one we have. And not only that, are we relying on him for that bit of magic, that creativity, that spark, but we're also relying on him to finish it, and it's almost impossible. It's absolute madness right now, and I agree with you. Like, this is my biggest bugbear. My whole lifetime watching Tottenham, even under Pochettino, we always had great flair players in the team. Our biggest problem was what we've had behind that. They're still behind it, but we always had great flair players. That's why down the years you've seen Tottenham being involved in some big scoring games and stuff like that. But just feels like now we've just gone to one side of the younger players, and that experience isn't there. And that's one thing I've highlighted all summer. I'm happy to bring in young players, but you need that experience to be able to drag them forward. Like you said, that game yesterday, games in the balance, help drive them over the line. When you hear the class of 92, they speak about that. It's not only the invaluable around the dressing room, but on the leadership on the pitch in the tough games where they help protect you, they help drive you forward, they help feed you information, and that's just lacking right now. And unfortunately, it feels like, Paul, we're just going to have another year of ups and downs, and then we'll be sitting here next summer going, well, they have to, hopefully they've learned going into next season. And it's just a bit frustrating, to be honest with you. I don't blame Ange Postecoglou. I don't buy that all these signings are Ange Postecoglou's. I blame the board for failing them.
I'm in a similar position. You can see what Ange Postecoglou is trying to do, and what gets me more when we beat Everton 4-0 last week. Everyone was saying there was none of this Ange out. There was none of this the tactics don't work. There was none of this the high line doesn't work. Yeah. But the minute we come up against a decent team, and to be fair, that was a great ball from Linton that broke that defense. They're the sort of balls that we need to be playing. That was a great ball. But again, where was Romero? Gone. He just stood still. And again, and that's another thing I want to bring up with Romero. He's had 3 games, and to me, 3 poor games. Yes, he's had a goal. He scored a header from a corner.
He was brilliant against Everton defensively, though, Paul. It's just the other games either side of it, he's been shit. Yeah,
but even with Everton, he gave the ball away a couple of times in the defensive area.
He got into it defensively.
He got into it.
Defense and all,
yeah. But then Vardy in behind him again. Is Isaac in behind him again, and it's like it was like a copycat goal of each other. They might have come from different areas on the pitch, but it was exactly the same position where they scored from. Now, to me, he was caught ball watching.
Yep.
And for a so-called world-class defender, as everybody likes to call him, they're not ball watching, and playing the high line for a season. He should know the minute we lose that ball, you're either going to hit that offside trap or you're going to be halfway back to the 18-yard box before they've even played the ball. Yeah. And that's what I don't think our defense is learning. They're set. They're just sat there, and the minute we lose the ball, it's taken them 2-3 seconds to react. Instead of that instantaneous reaction, right, well, we've lost the ball there, let's get back. They're just standing there waiting for someone to intercept it. And when they don't intercept it, wallop, we get caught on the counter. And that's where I think, the high line everyone blames, but there again, I also blame the defenders because you've played it for a year now. If we lose the ball outside their 18-yard box, you know what's coming. Every team does it. What's coming. It shouldn't be happening time and time again. One of them should be ready to split turn and get back.
To be honest with you, I think blaming the high line is absolutely nonsense to a large degree, because when you're dominating the games we do, tell me what team doesn't sit their defense on the halfway line when you're dominating the game we do.
Yeah.
It's just natural that it happens when you're camped in the opponent's half. Teams usually use the halfway line or just 5 yards behind it, like we were, as their sort of engagement point. You look at Brighton against Arsenal when they got on top of the game. They also had a very similar high line to a degree. It's more so players being aware and switched on that ball could be turned over any minute and be ready for it. And I think that's where the issue comes in, is that the defenders almost get sucked into the dominance and they're like, oh, geez, fuck me. This is an easy day. And then as soon as one ball gets put in behind them, like, shit, I may switch on. And by then, it's already too late. But, I think the high line thing is a bit of, I think it's a bit of a wish-wash argument, because many teams that play the football we do use that, sit up there. It's natural, even in games where you're trying to dominate. I played the game myself. They always say just 5 yards behind the halfway line, because if you usually play on the halfway line, you're keeping anybody on, and if they're running from inside their own half, they're automatically onside. So they usually say 5 yards behind the halfway line as your sort of engagement point when you're playing, especially when you're in the opposition's half the way we do. So I agree. I don't think that the issue is the high line. I think it's maybe how susceptible we are to the counter. And I think there's various things he can do to maybe try and change that a little. But Paul, anything else you want to say before we let you go, my man?
No, all good. I just want to see a lot more consistency from these players. And I want to see these mistakes that they keep making time and time again. Yeah, making the first time, fine. It's like my mum used to say to me, do it the first time, you get told off. Do it the second time, you know what you've done wrong, sort it out. You do it the third time, you're obviously not listening.
Yeah.
But we're making the same mistakes over and over again, and it's like carbon copies all the time. And that's the frustrating thing for me. I just want to see consistency in them playing well and finishing our dinner for a change. Missing from 6 yards out all the time that's got to stop.
Yeah, I'm with you.
We do the hard work. We do the hard work, but we can't do the last bit, which is a simple tapping.
Yeah, I've been with you there, Paul. I've heard you, be pretty consistent about this, that you feel like the players don't actually get enough of the blame in a lot of the cases for, these not going our way, because it can't always just be Ange Postecoglou's fault, especially in the moments where they are just 6 yards out and they do just have to put it away. They are Premier League footballers on 100K a week. They should be able to bury some of these chances, or it's just simple lapses of concentration in the defense. It's not necessarily always the high line or the tactics or anything. And it sometimes is the case that we do end up blaming Ange when the players are actually the ones that are probably more responsible in some of the games that we drop points. So I appreciate that you bring that up a lot.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I just don't understand how it can be Ange's fault when a player is 6 yards from out for the box, he puts it over the bar. The system's obviously got them to that point. But how is that Ange's fault that they can't finish? And is that because of the quality of player we're buying? E.g. Johnson, I never thought we should have bought him. But again, it's one of them. It's, when do we start actually blaming the players?
No, it comes down to the quality of player in the forward line. I'm sorry, but in the forward line, unless you pick up a bargain, a lot of the times, the more you spend, the more quality you get in here. And, it seems like we didn't really want to commit them sort of fees to bring in the players to really make that difference, and that's what kills me a little bit. But Paul, big yourself up, my man. I really appreciate the call. Really appreciate you, waiting in the back end as long as you did as well, my man. Thank you very much.
That's cool.
Thanks,
Paul. You have a good evening, and I'll ring you during
the
week.
And you. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you
Spurs.
Great call.
Love that. Absolute great call from Paul. A bit different to everybody else. Stop blaming the system. Blame the players. I mean, look.
I agree.
I like that message. Anyway, that's it for myself and Jack, guys, this evening. Jack, anything you want to say before we end off?
To all of the members, please join us tomorrow for the fantasy streams. We'll be doing fantasy recaps for anybody that's involved in the general members league. We'll also be doing the draft league recap as well. Again, we'll continue to say this throughout the month, but we are being sponsored by NordVPN this month. It is in the description, and you can follow the link over and you get a special discount and use our code FLACAP, and you should be able to get a really good deal there in case you are looking for a VPN. And there are tons of reasons that Dave and I will plug in different videos for why you probably should have one. from saving money on streaming services so you can watch Spurs, to having better security, just in general on your online, tons of good stuff. But please use that code and please use that link, because they're a big company and you probably have heard them, before, but you can actually use our code now to get yourself a nice special deal. And also, yeah, thanks to all the people who called in today. Nice to actually shut up for a change and just listen to other people's opinions on things. Like, it's actually been really needed from at least myself as well as Dave. I'm kind of tired of hearing myself at this point. I will shut up soon here, but I am kind of tired of sometimes hearing myself, and it is nice to listen to other people give their opinions, whether they're different from ours or not. I actually like to hear just different words, different ways of expressing sometimes what's going wrong or what's going right. And I think every single call today was really good. Actually, every single call was really good today.
I'm sure you'd like to hear someone else's voices, but my screechy Irish wine.
Dave and I are getting sick of each other at this point, so we're looking forward to just hearing other people.
It's been such a long week. It's such a long week, and look, it's over. Tomorrow, like Jack said, we will have a couple of the fantasy streams out. Then I'm going to see my niece when I get back. I'm going to put together 1 or 2 pre-records, to feast our eyes on this week as well. And then, look, my international break doesn't get any better because Ireland are playing England at the weekend, and I am absolutely dreading it and probably going to receive another L, which ain't good. But anyway, guys, that's it from us. Thank you to every single one of you who came on today to get us through this show. I really do appreciate it. Honestly, mine and Jack's vocals are very, very tired, so we appreciate you for coming on and holding the show the way you did. A massive thank you to everybody who's tuned in from start to the beginning, from start all the way through to the end. Really, really do appreciate it, guys. And then to everybody who's gone the extra mile, Moondog, Eddie, Drew Zilla, IrishHotspur, and Al as well. Absolute legends. Guys, go and enjoy what's left of your evening. Those of you over the other side of the pond, go and enjoy Labor Day. You deserve it. You work hard. See you soon.
See you soon, everybody. Have a good night.